And this one thing. Oh, there we go. What up? What's up, everybody? This is another stream with Champagne Sharks. I'm Rita Star. And with me right now is Alicia Reedy of MonAlicia Bakes. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I found MonAlicia like I find most people on Twitter. And if you on Twitter saying some real shit or being dope or showing how dope you are, I will hit you up. And I did that with MonAlicia.
Yes, you did.
I wish you know what? I should have actually pulled up, and I will pull up pictures of your food. Is it on your website?
Yeah, like my baking, the MonAlicia Bakes.
What's your website? MonAliciaBakes.com?
Yeah, THE and then MonAliciaBakes.com.
Oh, the MonAlicia Bakes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I totally did not do it the right way the first time.
I know you could.
But I definitely want them to see what you be making because that's what made me hit you up the first time.
Yes. Because it was the frosted O's, the matcha, king cake, because it was back in February. I can't remember what the fourth flavor was, but I definitely, maybe Luckily Charmed, I think. All I know is that it could have been another cereal, but yeah.
Girl, all I know is when I seen that shit, I said, okay, she needs to figure out how to ship that over here to LA.
I ship nationwide. Yes.
Oh, then look out for my address when you see your order
Say
form.
less. Yeah, nationwide, international. This past summer, I ended up shipping to Singapore, and I still have like a lot of Canadian clientele, which is crazy. So
there we go.
Boom. That red velvet cheesecake, though.
Listen, this is my thing. If you can make it look good in pictures, I don't even think most foods look good in pictures. But if you can make your shit look good in a picture, I'm there because I'm very picky. It has to not look like an artist, a photographer came together to spray some shit on it to make it look shiny. Like, right. I hate that shit. It needs to look like you baked that shit. And that's what that shit is red velvet thing. I don't even like red velvet, but that shit made me want to try it. I don't like chocolate, but that looks fire. Like, not even gonna lie to you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, when I put up the tweet with the other pictures, they're gonna be like, "Oh,
I'm excited! I can't wait for you to show that." And then those are like highlights from my Instagram.
Okay, definitely gotta check her out. Go to her page, the MonAliciaBakes.com. She even has special gift wraps if you want to send a surprise to your sweetie pie or your mom or your kids because you love them and you just want to know that you love them. Make sure you go check out MonAlicia Bakes. But the thing that I really thought was fascinating was we had a really interesting conversation around self-love and how that impacts your ability to say yes or no to certain things.
Yes.
And that's a very powerful conversation in my opinion because a lot of women in particular, Black women also, even though for some reason there's this belief that all Black women, we think we're like super tough and strong and we can take it all on. Some of us also struggle with just saying no.
Yeah.
It's not that we're trying to be superwoman. We just don't know how to tell people no.
It's really ironic that you're saying this because I was talking to my favorite person ever earlier. And I was telling him, I was like, yeah, like I'm superwoman. I don't know what else to be. Like I always talk about how I need a break, but then I never give myself one. So it comes with it. I can't help it. I really can't.
That's the thing. So we end up in these positions where we're taking on a lot more than we should be.
Right.
Because we don't want to say no, because we feel like we can do it all, because we've always had to do it all. Mm-hmm. And the reality is sometimes it's okay to say no. It's not even because we think somebody else is going to come take care of us. I think people think that too. It's like we're waiting for someone to come take care of us. It's not even about that. Sometimes you don't have to fucking no because it's just no.
Right.
I don't have time. I don't have the energy. You're not paying me. You're not paying me enough. These are important conversations that a lot of people can be afraid to have. I remember I was speaking on a panel. It was a women's health panel, and this one girl in the audience, and she still follows me on Instagram today. She asked this question. She was like, "How did you get to the point where you were able to start telling people no?" She said, "It's so hard for me." Yeah. And I had, and the same thing I told you, something I told her, is really starts with loving yourself. You have to love yourself enough to say what you're going to allow yourself to put yourself through. What are you going to allow yourself to go through? Right. You have to love yourself that much to say, I don't have to take this on, and I don't have to worry about if this person's going to like me after I say no. So that's usually at the root of it. Is we don't want this person to dislike us. We
Yeah.
don't want them to dismiss us. We want them, because what if in the future we need to come to them and they say no because we said no? There's all these things that go through your head
Exactly.
under that fear. And a lot of it's because we have this fear of not being loved or not being liked because we probably didn't receive enough of it growing up. We
Yeah.
felt like we didn't receive enough of it growing up. Or the times we didn't appease people, we were met with hostility or punishment,
Ooh,
right?
ooh, yes.
I started off saying real shit too early. We only like.
No, it's okay. You just decided to go be 5 minutes in and drag me. That's fine. It's all good. And like it's so crazy that you're saying all this too. Like I think that one of the biggest things is self-love for me. Like you said, like I think like a lot of women go through it. Everyone goes through like, the ups and downs of self-love. I have realized that I think that once my business went viral, that's when, and then like I just really started to not prioritize myself, like actively not prioritize myself. That's when things like really hit the fan for me on a personal level. And it's kind of like I have to force myself to prioritize myself. And it's not that and it's not that I don't love myself. I think that I'm just so hypercritical of myself and I know what I'm capable of. I have a tendency to compare myself to the best moments of my life from the past instead of accepting where I am now, like this is what's going on, this is where you are, embrace the fact that you're here in this moment and then it can only get better from here. So I definitely have some ups and downs regarding self-love. But
Absolutely. And that's the other part of love, right?
yeah.
Because just because you love somebody doesn't mean you always treat them right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You started off early.
so
Oh
you're
my
right. I love what you highlighted. You said it's not that I don't love myself because you love yourself.
yeah.
But do you always treat yourself the best? When you're making those comparisons, are you treating yourself the best?
No, I don't. And you know what's crazy? I have noticed like I actively and like I told you earlier, like I keep it raw and real. Like I've noticed I actively avoid looking at pictures of myself from the last 4 years. Like it's very hard for me to do so just because each year I was in a different space. And there are obviously like good moments, there are bad moments that come with it. And I think that I have a hard time looking at it because of everything that I went through from the top of COVID till now. Like it's been a difficult journey, but we're getting better.
See, I love what you're saying, and this is what's important to me. Because even when I talk about trauma and things like that, people assume that means that you must have it all together,
right?
Because you have a conscious understanding of it.
Yeah,
you still have those battles, you still have those struggles. I know I still go through it, even right now.
Yeah,
like people are like, I've been very open about my self-esteem issues since I've been on here, and why and where they come from. And this is why I talk about trauma so much, because it's not that me or other people are just crazy every time we talk about how negatively we feel about ourselves. It's not even us looking for attention. It's not just like I'm really trying to give you guys understanding this is relatable. Like this isn't just me.
Yeah.
This is, I'm a human being, you're a human being. All of us in some way fall short of taking care of ourselves in the way that we should.
Yes.
That's just the reality of it. Quick shout out to everybody in the chat room.
Hey,
shout out to Alex. Shout out to Outlaw, 2008 B. Scott, Isaac K, and Harlow, our regulars. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us in the chat. Please feel free to comment in the chat room. Shout out to our Twitch fam as well. Make sure that you guys are commenting and joining us in this conversation. It's not just us. We're having the conversation on camera, but we want you to join us in the chat. So please feel free to join us in that chat. But back to what we were saying, I get really, for me personally, I get really inspired when I hear other people say that they go through the same thing and yet they're still pushing every day. Yeah. Right? Because I learned early on there's no cure for a lot of for childhood trauma, right? There's no cure. What we can do is have it go through a healing journey. We have a healing process, right? There's no like you take this shot, you take this pill, and the problem's over. All the pills you take while you dealing with that shit is stuff they tell you. This is the for you to do or take these while you learn other coping mechanisms, because this shit is not going to solve the problem. This just
Exactly.
helps you balance yourself a little bit at least until
Mm-hmm.
you can find other ways to get through this, this situation in your brain. But I think so many times we get so caught up in just pushing sometimes that we
Yeah.
don't share that story. We just like, look at me and how successful I am. Yeah, but what about all those nights that you struggled and you didn't believe in yourself for like a week and you didn't get up and bake those cookies, right? What about
Woo!
you're
Yes.
supposed to update your website? That shit ain't happened, and it's supposed to happen 3 months ago. Like shit like
Listen.
that. Because those things also hold us back when we're not, tuned into ourselves and try. It can hold us back when we don't realize that we're being held back by our emotions.
Yeah.
That depression, I didn't even know I had depression when I had depression. Did you know that? I
You
went
know,
for
like,
sciatica.
and
I didn't go for
and
depression.
if I may go in on that, just the topic of
Please.
depression. So I think this is probably going to be like the most candid I've ever been about it. So, I think that when my business went viral, right? Like obviously, like when it's a small business, you're catering to other people. Like naturally, I'm a people pleaser, and that's never a problem. Like I'm also a person that loves to take care of people. I love to feed people, whether it's
I
actual
was
food
gonna say people
or
who cook and bake, especially bake, they love taking care of people.
I
Yes.
absolutely do. Like this morning, like I ended up making brunch for like my entire family. So like this like one of my happiest, and I kind of get offended when they're like, "No, I'm good." I'm like, "But
Because it's
uh,
how you give love.
exactly." And when
It's
my
like giving
business
somebody
went
a
viral,
compliment and they don't take your compliment. You're like, nigga, I'm trying to tell you, I think you fucking dope.
I'm the person that has a hard time taking the compliments.
And
I
now,
think,
okay, listen. Now you have real shit though.
yeah.
If you don't take the compliment,
Hmm.
imagine how that person feels. The same way you feel when people don't take your food.
You did not have to drag me like that, but you're not wrong, and I'm not even
Don't worry,
mad
we
at it.
ain't even
Like
15 minutes in yet, girl. We just
I'm
started.
such a humble, right? Okay. Like I'm such a humble soul. And like over like, I think it's not really trauma, but like one of the biggest things I encountered as I grew up was like people always thought that I was self-centered, selfish, conceited, and I have never been that. I take a lot of pride in my selflessness. And usually people are like, oh, well, if you have to boast and brag about it, that means you're not. But like for me, I've always known myself to be a very gentle soul, a very passionate soul, and I've always been a very selfless soul. I I appreciate that about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like if anybody were to be in need, like I would literally give them my last. Like I would give them the
Mm-hmm.
clothes off of my back. That's just how I move. Going back to when I was viral, the thing about going viral is that people don't um and I'm hoping that people that watch this have shopped with small businesses, because I want to give them a glimpse a slight glimpse into the reality of the small business
I think
life.
our audience, like a lot of them, try to support small businesses.
Oh,
Speaking of which, go
perfect.
to MonAlicia, go to the MonAliciaBakes.com. Go ahead.
Yes, no, you're good. Thank you for the plug. The thing is, like when I went viral, the thing about going viral, period, is just the fact that you can never plan for it. Um, I have found myself, even still, like my product has been high in demand since literally day one of COVID. And the thing
Oh
is that people
wow.
don't realize, yeah, it's been hectic in my house. It's like a mini warehouse. And the thing is like people don't realize, again, like you don't plan to go viral. I have found myself in positions where I've had to explain the fact that I'm a mother. I've had to explain the fact that I've had to deal with shit. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like I should never have to explain my trauma or my hardships to get understanding. And like I would say that for actually the month of June, I received 503 orders exactly. And to like up till now, I think I've received, just from going viral, because it goes viral off and on, over 1,000. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the thing is like people don't understand, like you can't do that in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, because you still have to balance your personal life. Like I
Right.
found myself in positions where I would be asleep, and my phone, like I would get emails and calls out the ass, text messages, people harassing me literally over some fucking cookies. I'm like, look, a dozen sugar cookies ain't worth all this. Like it's not.
Right.
And the thing is, like, actually, I remember even one time, like literally on my birthday, my business was closed just for the weekend. Unfortunately, I had to deal with some trauma during my birthday weekend, and a lot of my
Right.
customers still don't understand that. I actually got a call on my birthday. I was like, hey, the business is closed. Like, we'd be more than happy to get back to you within like a day or two. Like, I apologize for this inconvenience, but you mattered to us, blah, 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 so on and so forth. This woman is cussing me out, being hella rude, and then it was like she was so loud to the point where she woke up my daughter. Like, people just
What,
kind of
what
know.
what was she so angry about?
Just the fact that, like, well, first of all, she ordered that same month. My birthday's August 29th. She ordered literally maybe like 2 or 3 weeks in advance. All on my website, you can see, hey, like, there are delays because of COVID. Hey, there's this. Like, I even had to send emails about the fact that it's like, oh, hey, I went through some trauma. Like, I've been in and out of court. I'm sorry that you're not getting your order. Like, it got to a point where it was like, I lost sight of myself. I literally lost my relationship with myself. I'm in a position now where it's like, I'm getting back to me. I'm touching, and it's been a very tough journey getting back to myself, because like I said before, like, I've always been such a people pleaser. I love taking care of people, and I've never had an issue with prioritizing myself, but up until this point. And it really led me into like a slight depression. Just the fact that I felt like I couldn't afford to sleep. I felt like I couldn't afford to eat. I was working multiple all-nighters throughout the week. And then, you add the issues I have with my child's father. I mean, I could say baby daddy, but I'm going to be slightly professional. It's just like, a lot of it just adds. People were trying to take down my business. Like, there's just so many factors, and it just
Take
really
it down because they had to wait.
I mean, it was, like, I've had people threaten to take me to court because they didn't, like, answer my questions, or, like, one person didn't tell me that she needed it for a wedding, and I was like, well, I can waive the rush fee if you need it within a certain time frame. Instead of her telling me, she decided to file a dispute, and then she threatened the whole "I'm a lawyer" card. I could take you to court, blah blah blah. Yeah, like, people get mad disrespectful, and, like, I understand people like their food, but you don't have to be an asshole to get what you want. And for me, kindness goes a very long way. So
I think it's important that you're sharing this because I don't think a lot of people take into consideration the stress of having a small business, especially one where you didn't anticipate such a big reaction to your stuff. So now you have this big rush of orders when that's not the capacity that you started with. A lot of the businesses that I know, like, I try to buy. I can't tell you how much shit I bought because somebody posted a link on Twitter and it was a black business. I have candles in here. I have a friend who makes candles who got mad that I bought these other candles.
Like, how dare you?
Yeah, right. I buy naked body butter from the homegirl. And I always shout her out, but this is your day, so I'm not going to do that now. But I always shout her out, and I love her body butter. It's like the best body butter ever, and I'm glad I discovered it. Yeah. So I try to support, but I also understand because I've been, what I think helped me understand a lot of this shit. It's a couple of things. One, I've had my own business before online. I've got a couple before. I know the stress behind that. The other thing, I think when I was early in the natural hair movement. Online, if you remember, like, it was like early 2000s, like maybe like 2005, 6, 7, 8, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a big movement online where all these message boards and websites and blogs are popping up with natural hair stuff. And so all these small companies, these Black-owned businesses, young Black women starting, hair companies, hair product companies. Some of them blew up. Some of them we see in Target today. But I remember when some of them would start and you would try to order something and you wouldn't get your shit for like 2 months. Yeah. And I remember having to go on their site and read and then I remember there was a big one of those years there was a big blizzard. So stuff was getting shipped to them, but it was like frozen and people were getting mad at the people. But these are people with small businesses. They didn't think to anticipate a blizzard. They don't have the insurance that big companies have if things don't get shipped on time. So they can't just be like, okay, here's your money back because no insurance is going to cover that. They are a major product. They spent the money to make it and on the labor that they just did. So but if you don't have that understanding how small businesses work, especially really small businesses online, you can definitely become impatient. I personally, if I have a rush on something, I probably would go to a company where I know they have insurance.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? If it's something that I'm like, yo, I just want to try, I want to support what she got. I have a birthday coming up in a few months, whatever. Let me talk to her and see what she can do, and we'll see what happens from there. But I'm that person, so
Right.
I'll try to make an effort to support and also I don't want to add extra stress to Black people's lives.
Yeah, we be going through it. You know what's crazy? I take a lot of pride in my Blackness. One of my customers do have a weird entitlement. Thank you. Exactly. One thing that made me lose my train of thought, but it also leads me to, say something else before I even get back to that. Because hopefully it'll help me remember. But yes, I definitely agree that people have a weird sense of, or customers specifically have a weird sense of entitlement. I think the biggest issue is that sometimes people see it as, okay, well, for example, like you're at home, you ain't got nothing better to do, so you're probably not going to take that long. The thing about, I can't speak for no other business but my own, but with my business, the thing is, on my website, I have a menu of over 100 flavors. It doesn't matter what is hidden. You will always see at least 100 flavors. That's just what the MonAlicia Bakes is. And I take a lot of pride in that. And I think that's what makes me stand out in comparison to other people. I make very clear to people that you can look online, from Instagram to Twitter to Facebook, everywhere. It says made to order. Speaking about the MonAlicia Bakes again, specifically, like I have to take 24 hours worth of baking, right? Or like a day's worth of baking. Yeah. Into like one day, I got to make sure I carve out a little bit of time for myself. I have to take care of my daughter. I'm not completely supported by her father. So there's that. You know what I mean? It makes it very difficult. I think that sometimes, well, one, I think for starters, I think people's patience changed because of COVID, because everyone is like, oh, well, you can't really go here or do this and that, or I might as well just buy online because it's safer. That's no problem. But the thing is, like, if you're going to support a small business, you have to give them the grace and patience and understanding that they deserve, because like they're putting everything into their business, everything they have to give, and just treat them as a person. Like, it got to a point where like I had to send out a mass email, and I was like, only 1 to 3 people work at a time. Okay. Like I am not a machine. Anything that happens with USPS is not my fault. So please don't hit me up. And what bothers me is like, I still get very angry emails. Someone was like, you give me the worst customer service. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm locked out of my email. Okay. Like, I don't know why I can't get into it. I just can't, So the thing is, and then on top of that, actually, if I were to talk about that customer specifically, I wouldn't drop any names. But this is just to give another glimpse as to what, small business owners, specifically myself, go through. I told her, like, this specific customer, I said, well, I was sexually assaulted on my birthday week or during my birthday weekend. I've been in and out of court for several months. So, and then on top of that, we're in a global pandemic. So, and then I received X amount of orders. So yes, delays are to be expected. She responded with, well, I spent at least $100. Think about, or imagine what I have to go through. And I'm sitting there thinking like, certain people just really want to be oppressed.
I mean, I'll say this, as if I were you, I wouldn't have even gone that far with certain people, only because because what customers are, they don't care.
They don't.
They don't. And I mean, that's just the reality
of
it. It's like if I go to Ralph's and they tell me that the CEO had a bad day, I don't give a fuck. No, that's Ralph's. I'm not talking about you, not Ralph's. A big company. And for those who don't know, Ralph's is a grocery store out here. But yeah, so I think people, they don't care. Their whole thing is, I gave you money. Where's my product?
Right.
I would have just been like, unfortunately, this was a very tough weekend. We weren't able to get all the orders out. I tried to give everyone a heads up as much as I could.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's in the case. Boom. That's just what it is. Because the thing is, we start going deep into your trauma with people, they don't hear it because their mind is one track. Because remember, something my dad told me a long time ago: nobody gives a fuck about what you got to do but you. And it's something that's always stuck with me.
Yes.
And what he meant by that was, everybody has their own priorities and the things that are important to them. Her wedding is not your priority.
Right.
Right. Making sure your daughter has food to eat is your priority.
Yeah.
Right. And making sure your daughter has food to eat is not her priority. So we're all looking out for
For
ourselves, and
ourselves, yeah.
that's really
And
what that is. And the
yeah,
reality is, though, like I said, me personally, I try to be extremely patient with small businesses, black businesses that are small businesses.
yeah.
Even if the customer service isn't that great, depending on how bad it is, some people just be going off, and I look at other people go off on their customers, like male people going off on their customers or whatever. I'm like, I'm not going to you.
Yeah.
But like I try my best to be very patient and supportive. I have businesses right now that pissed me off a couple of times, but I keep going.
The thing
Well,
is, like, and I'm glad you said that too, because, like, look, I know I piss people off. I know I have. The thing is, like, I think some people are pissed off and annoyed with the pride I take in my blackness, and I honestly don't care.
why do people take? When you say people take issues with like, other black people?
Well, I will say I've had some black people fuss at me. I mean, like, everyone fusses at me. Don't get me wrong. I think that white women and black women come at me the hardest, and I'm just kind of like, look, I be like, I just be vibing, I be working. I'm a mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a person, but I think one thing that like really gets to me though is again, like, people have a hard time, accepting the fact that I take pride in my blackness. One issue I had, actually, I love politics. I'm the mother that wakes up, makes her coffee. I make breakfast every morning for my daughter, and then if my family, if they want something, I got them too. But I turn on CNN. Like, that's my thing. Like, I'm obsessed with the news. And when the insurrection happened, I was so distraught because, being a DMV native, like, the way I see it, it's like these people came and, like, these terrorists really like came and destroyed my home. That's how it made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
Being someone that's been in the Capitol and just being able to take everything in, like, seeing them destroy parts of, like, the building where I've been. I'm
It's
like,
part because it's part of the regional culture. Is what you're
yes.
saying.
Exactly. And yeah, so like I was really like I was glued to the news. Like, it just made me want to hold my daughter a little bit tighter, because Trump supporters definitely have a way of not being quiet about being Trump supporters, and they just really don't care about what they do. I hate
Right.
them. And literally, like, I remember, like, I posted, I don't really post too many personal, yeah, me too. Like, so many people didn't understand, like, where I was coming from. Like, I don't really like take too many personal moments on the MonAlicia Bakes' Instagram. But I was in the middle of baking. I was like, yo, like, I know y'all see what's happening on the TV. I'm not feeling that. Like, I was like, I can't focus on anything but what's happening in my home. And I actually got some racially charged, like, I was off my phone for a little while. I got some, like, racially charged actions on Instagram, not to go too deep into it. And from a customer that was, like, very nasty towards me. I could tell that she was definitely very unhappy with the fact that I didn't want to take the evening off for work. So she and some of her friends, like, decided to come at me. And the next day I sent an email, and I'm like, thank you to everyone that supports me. And then I basically, shared my thoughts about the insurrection, and, like, how, again, like, I take pride in my blackness and being a DMV native. And when I tell you, like, subscribers were just dropping like flies, I was like, okay, bye. Like, I don't
So
care.
when you talked about politics, people started dropping off.
100%. And the
That's
thing is, like, for me,
interesting.
yeah. And then for me, like, I don't care, because it really weeds out the people that only support me because they're like, oh, I wanted to do my part and support a black business. For me, the way I see it is like, I don't need a pity party. The MonAlicia Bakes is going to thrive with or without certain people. So the way I see it is kind of like, I'm not a charity case. You feel me?
Yeah. Well, this
So
is the thing about especially white people. They always feel they're doing you a favor. No,
yeah,
real shit. They do. They feel
yeah,
like they're doing you a favor. They do it not even just with business. They do it with everything. They're doing you a favor
yes,
by supporting your movement. I
yeah.
mean, if you're gonna treat me like this, so why should I say anything?
I know,
I
fuck
said Black
you.
Lives Matter.
Like,
I have BLM in my profile photo. And so what do you mean? Like,
yes,
I was like, yo, like, why is this even about you? Like, if you
exactly.
came, but they think because they think they're saviors. I think they came to help all the Negro businesses, and that's what they came to do.
Yeah,
Um,
I've received a lot of that. And then the way I see it is just kind of like, at the end of the day, like, if you get that uncomfortable with the fact that I'm standing firm in who I am as a woman and my blackness, all right, then fuck you. Like, I don't need you, because either way I'm going to thrive with or without you.
Well, and on top of this is my whole thing about stuff like that is you have to be you. When it comes to small businesses, your brand and who you are is part of that brand. Then you can attract the audience that you're really trying to get. That clearly are not your demographic. You know, if you have to bite your tongue and not talk about things where you want to, then that's clearly not your demo.
Right, and that's how it was for me from, I would say, when my business was like really viral. So like from June to October, November-ish, like I really bit my tongue. Like I'm talking, it got to a point where it was like I didn't even feel comfortable posting, excuse me, on social media, because people would literally like email me, call me, text me anytime I made a post. They would be like, oh my God, so am I never getting my order? Oh my God, where's my stuff? Like, if you have time to post on social media, that means that you have
they
time
come
to
in the line. It's DMV. What the fuck you mean?
Right.
Do that shit. Like, if you have time to post, you know how easy it is to post.
It's a fucking brand. Hello.
I have such a short attention span. Like, even right now, I have to do something while I'm doing an entire show, right?
Yeah.
So I have my attention span isn't the best. And I mean, they said I got ADHD, but you know, I question all that shit.
I feel you.
I question all that shit. But you know, so when I'm placed with people like you're on Twitter all the time, yeah, because I have such a short attention span for the space that I'm in. If something happens and it's not keeping my attention at that moment, I'll go right to my phone. Yeah. So it's easy to do that. So yeah, I'm on my phone because I'm in line at the grocery store, or you know, I'm at my brother's house, but he's running his mouth about some shit I don't give a fuck about. I'm just kidding. I love him so much. Please don't.
And then and that's another thing too, like with small businesses, like I have to, because I have 4 brands I'm a part of. Like I have the MonAlicia Bakes. I have a skincare brand called Go Naked. Like it's a quiet brand, but she does what she has to do. Like I have my podcast, and then there's a podcast that I'm a part of. And like the thing is, like I have to dedicate certain hours of the day to each brand on top of taking care of my child. So like when people see that I'm posting on social media, they see it as like, oh, okay, so you have time. And it's like, no, like I have to manage a whole brand. Like, and it hit me probably a couple of weeks ago that like the MonAlicia Bakes is really becoming a brand that people look to online. Like, oh, what's next? Oh, what do you have going on? You know what I mean? And then obviously, like for a lot of the people that haven't received their orders yet, because I'm in the middle of like resending a ton of stuff, they're like, oh, so you got time. Where's my stuff? And that's just not the reality. It's a matter of balancing out everything.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's important that we realize that there's human beings on the other side of things. You know, I know even for me it's hard because I be on Twitter going off on people, and I have to remember sometimes when everybody's stable. All these people are not, you know, they don't got it together, and it's hard to remember that sometimes because people be saying some types of crazy shit. But I think it's important that we remember that, you know, these small businesses, there's a human being on the other end of that. People have to realize that you also go through things. And I kind of want to touch on that a little bit too. How long have you been doing MonAlicia Bakes? And how did you get that started? And how did you overcome a lot of the stress and the fear to even get started? Because I know that's some real shit.
Yes. So actually, you know what's really crazy? So I wanted to go into baking. Like, let's run it all the way back, right? So growing up, I would always bake with my grandmothers in their respective kitchens. Like I've always loved being in the kitchen, whether it's like making actual food or bringing confections to life. And I've always found, well, during my younger days, my strong suit was sweets. So I'm talking like cakes and cupcakes, cookies, whatever it was. So I kind of see the MonAlicia Bakes as a homage to my grandmother, specifically my mom's mom. Because I was
your mom's mom a safe space for you, and was baking a safe space for you growing up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to like no, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to highlight that because we're talking about how childhood experiences impact your life as an adult.
And you know what's
you were able to take that safe space and make it a business for yourself. Expand upon that as opposed to just harping on the negative that I'm sure was outside of that safe space. You said, how do I expand this safe space and make it a part of my life?
Absolutely. Like, really quick tangent, like I'm clairvoyant, so like that's a gift of mine that I obviously don't talk about that much, but like I know my grandmother's with me in everything I do because my daughter was actually supposed to be doing her birthday, which is wild. So like she's been present in every single like point in my, like just a lot of like not only personal but like business too. Like anytime like I feel like I have like a doubt, she like gives me a sign and I'm like, okay, cool, it's a wrap. Whether it's like an angel number or like actual like a physical sign, like I always know I'm on the right track. But going back to how the MonAlicia Bakes began, like it's really just like a huge homage to her. Like I spent a lot of time with her growing up. Like I would make cookies specifically with her all the time. I remember in 2015, I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and make a business, call it a day. It didn't really work out because there were issues with payment, and then I just kind of let it ride. And I was like, okay, clearly it's not the time. It is what it is. So here comes 2018. I just had my daughter, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and start selling my baked goods on Instagram and just kind of go from there. So how it started was I would add stuff to my Instagram story. I wasn't really, obviously, like when you first start off, you're not getting too much profit, but I literally I would talk about, okay, I have this flavor and that flavor available for purchase. People would DM me or email me to place their order. And it literally took me a week to get it together. So like my baby sister specifically would come up with like story designs for me. I'd add my flavors and I would just hustle on top of, like taking care of my daughter and balancing a full-time job. And it wasn't easy. Like there were a lot of nights where I would be up to like 4 or 5 in the morning. I'd have to go to sleep for 2 hours, wake up and get ready to go to Virginia for work the next day. But it started to really grow very quickly. So it'll be 3 in September.
I guess until your shit fire, but go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So like it literally started in September of 2018. So exactly when my daughter turned 3 months. And from there, like I said, like the business just grew. Like it got to a point where it was like, I really need to go ahead and get my website going. So shout out to my big sister. She actually made the website in 2 days. It launched on Thanksgiving of 2018, and the business it hasn't slowed down since. And I'm very grateful for that. There were like obviously like highs and lows. There were moments where I was just kind of like obviously like it was extra change in my pocket. Like there were times when my money would be tight, and like my child's father does not support me really. So it was more like, okay, what do you do? Like you just got to do what you got to do and hustle. And naturally I'm a hustler, so obviously I'm gonna get my coin. As time went on, like things ended up working out for my favor. The company that I worked for did me completely dirty because of prejudice stuff, and I'm the type of person that speaks up against any type of injustice. And I was like, yeah, I quit. So then I went into my book. Okay, thank you. And then my business, I just went into it full time for a little bit. I think the biggest issue I ran into was being afraid of completely pouring into myself. So I found myself like in a full-time job because again, at that time, my child's father was not paying child support like that. So I'm like, okay, well, I need something to help pay the bills. I need to make sure that my daughter is eating. I need to make sure I have, clothes on my back. And I just kind of grew from there. The business blew up like over time.
I think that's important for people to hear, so like they can feel inspired to go out and do things on their own.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the thing about jobs is sometimes if you have something else in your heart that you want to be doing, jobs, because maybe they're giving you a steady check at least for that time period, they can actually be a jail. They can hold us
exactly
back.
What it was, and that's exactly
I went through that. I feel like the universe had to had to fire me from jobs so I could do what I was meant to do versus other shit that I was doing just to get a check. But I definitely want to applaud that bravery of stepping out there.
Thank you.
But I definitely want to expand upon that initial point though, of you taking that safe space and making and pouring into yourself enough to realize, oh, this is what I need to be doing. Because that's part of pouring into yourself. Not being afraid to step out onto your dream and just try. Not, let me tell you right now, most businesses don't work out the first few times they try.
Yeah.
How people talk to anybody that has a successful business right now, they will tell you they went through hell and back. Every other day they tried, but they wasn't sure if they were going to finish it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it. Now let's add the layer of being black. Let's add the layer of having gone through some shit.
Yeah.
Let's add the layer of growing up in a society where you're constantly being told you ain't shit, and then having a society and a system that makes it harder for you to get access to shit that you need access to.
Precisely.
Also, I'm more patient with black businesses because I also know that they're a lot of times they're locked out of certain things, especially in the black hair care business, right?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, what we don't realize is all those barriers that we experience as adults can become triggering for us and stressful for us when we end up depressed, stuck at jobs we hate because we were told get that job at the post office because it's a good job. Black people love telling black people get a good government job,
right?
Pay your bills, and it's fine. But what if
they
you're
don't
not
like it?
That? You know what I mean?
I'm the type of person like I mean, look, I can do something just to get by, but ultimately, like, if I'm checked out, all right, it's fuck you, I'm out. So the company that I last worked for, my last full-time job, I was an inventory manager. I quit because the company poorly handled a sexual harassment situation. And I literally, I vividly remember, it's before I knew the pandemic was going to happen. It was towards the end of February. I vividly remember waking up and it felt like prison. It got to a point where I felt like I was just existing. Going back to what you were saying, I was just there. And it's like, this isn't serving me any greater purpose except, okay, cool, I have an extra check. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me at the end of the day because I can get money all these other ways. I woke up and I was like, yeah, fuck this shit. So
that's important.
I sent some emails to myself to make sure I was completely covered. And then I looked for the manager on duty and I was like, yeah, today's going to be my last day and I'm not working today. And then ever since that day, that was when I knew like I really had to step into my purpose and take a leap of faith. Thank you so much, Harlow. I appreciate it. Everything is homemade. Come on.
Love it.
Thank you.
But and I think it's really powerful when people tell their story and how they stepped out, which is part of the reason I wanted to talk about that. Because I feel like another thing that prevents us from pouring into ourselves because we tell ourselves, one, we don't deserve it. Yeah. And a lot of that comes from, and by the way, when I'm talking about childhood, I don't necessarily just mean your parents. Because your parents could be doing above and beyond, and there's still things that occur in life. Like you still getting followed around the grocery store or the mini mart at 12 because you're black is still a traumatic incident, right? Your parents do the best that they can, but you're still in poverty is still a trauma, right? So I just want to make sure that's clear. When I say talk about childhood trauma or things that we've experienced as children that were adverse, isn't just relegated to things that our parents did or didn't do. But the reality is, a lot of times as black children, I say school is outside of family. School is the next teacher of this butchering your self-esteem, right? I think the school is the other institution, and especially black children, because you're basically conditioned your entire life that you ain't shit. Right. You're not even worth a book.
You got to work harder.
You're not worth a teacher. Listen, I grew up in South Central my whole life. I went to Washington High School, then I went to Manual Arts High School. Anybody in LA, y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay. I was a student activist. We would have walkouts and protests over basic shit. Like ceiling tiles falling on our heads in class. Not having enough desks in class, right? Corroded water fountains, bathrooms that should have been open that we don't even have access to because they think we're in a youth prison or something and have to limit where we can go on the campus. They had spiked bars inside of our science building, so we couldn't leave, like we're in fucking jail, right? Some of my classes didn't even have a teacher. I had classes where I didn't have a teacher. I had substitutes for at least half the semester, right? Yeah. Nothing tells you are not worthy. You're not even worth the fucking book in your class. You're not even worth a teacher teaching you. You're not worth basic shit. Yeah. You have to get treated like you're a fucking criminal. Just because you went to school that day and the first person that greets you was a cop. Yes, the police was standing right by the gate. That was the first person you saw coming to campus was either the principal and or the police. And you always felt punitive walking into those places.
Yeah, like you had to have your guard up.
Right. So those kind of experiences teach us to doubt ourselves growing up. We sit in these classrooms and teachers tell us we ain't shit. We stupid. We don't know how to read. Why aren't you at reading level? Nigga, y'all ain't telling me how to read shit.
Okay, come on.
right? How come
Exactly.
your math ain't at this level? Because nigga, I've been sitting in this classroom fucked up, ain't ate because they threw my fucking lunch away
Yeah.
because my parents owed some money on the shit, and I'm sitting in class stressed the fuck out.
Yeah.
And so you have the nerve to be like,
Yeah,
"What's
no,
wrong
I
with
get
you? The
it.
fuck you mean? What's wrong with me?
You know, for me,
I can't even sit here."
the biggest issue I ran into for school, it only really specifically hit me in high school. I think when I really start, because I love to learn. I was very disheartened. Like I was very like I'm very smart. I know that about myself. I'm very smart. I'm beyond book smart. It's
As
not
you should be,
something.
and you are definitely.
Thank you. And I remember when I got my first B, right? Like I was in elementary school. Like I was completely disheartened. Like, and then after that, because like I had always been praised for having straight A's and excelling,
Mm,
being the top of everything. So to receive my first B, and it was kind of like, okay, you're not enough. Like that's how it made
yeah,
me feel. Like it wasn't even impacted by anybody else. It was really just me. Cause I'm naturally an overachiever.
but it was impacted by other people. You just didn't realize it. The fact
Mm,
that you got as much praise as you did when
yeah.
you did those things,
And then the
that
one
praise didn't
thing.
happen when you got a B.
Exactly. Like I was, and my mom and my dad, they were very like they were completely understanding. They were like, like a B is still okay. Like, don't give yourself a hard time about
Yeah,
that. But for
that
me,
still feels like pity, at the
yeah,
moment.
but like I will say this, like my dad may not be the most affectionate person. He may not be like out loud the biggest cheerleader. Even now, like our relationship can be a little bit rocky because of personal reasons. I know that for a fact that he will always cheer me on. He's just not as
Mhm.
expressive about it. My
Yeah,
mom, like
I
without a
definitely get
doubt, like
that.
is always in my corner. So I'm very grateful for that. I think my parents are coming from a place of like, don't give yourself a hard time because we know how you are. Cause like all it takes is
Oh,
one little
basically,
thing to,
cool on
you know
yourself.
what I
You
mean?
don't gotta beat yourself up over something because you know what you're
Exactly.
capable of.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So for me, it was that.
I
Right.
definitely. I think most parents think, even whether regardless of what they're saying, whether it's something I would say was hurtful or something I say was encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, I think most parents think that however they're responding is the way to respond to help their child.
Yeah.
So I teach a class called Trauma Informed Nonviolent Parenting,
That's awesome.
and that's one of the classes that changed my entire life in
Mm-hmm.
teaching it because I don't have children, but people
Yeah.
trust me. I don't know why. I'm the highest rated trainer, but I don't have. But most of us, that's because most people don't really know kids. Having kids doesn't teach you anything about kids, so
Yeah.
that's where.
Right. No, it's not good.
But one thing that changed my life when I realized how many parents love their children, because I had a bit of a resentment because of my experience in my childhood towards adults and how they treated children, parents
Mm-hmm.
included, teachers, parents, everybody, because of my personal experiences and my experience witnessing. Because I worked in social services for years,
Yeah.
and so I had a little bit of resentment towards parents, especially abusive parents. Now, the thing about my classes is I would get referrals from the Department of Children and Family Services. So I would get some people in my classes were required to be there to get so they can get their kids back.
Mm-hmm.
They would you have these parents who are on the record having abused their kids and have shared so in the class.
Yeah.
And it was for the first time when I was listening to some of those parents that I realized these people love their kids. They sincerely thought they were doing the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
or they didn't even realize they were doing it until they'd done it because
Yeah.
have been so conditioned to that's just how you treat children and how you respond to things. And that's when I realized a lot of parents are saying things and doing things not because they're evil or they hate their kids or whatever. I just don't know any better, whether it's something that's helpful or hurtful. I always tell parents, and what I'm a big fan of, especially with kids when they achieve things, is I have them talk about how they felt and
Mm-hmm.
I cheer on that feeling. So they'll say, if they come to me with an A, oh, look, I got an A. Wow, how do you feel about that? How did you earn that A? You worked really hard on that? How do you feel about how hard you worked about that?
Yeah.
I have them focus on it and make it intrinsic. Because I don't want that validation to come from me. The only
Right.
thing they need from me is that I'm celebrating with them because they're happy about it. Because
Absolutely.
there's also been kids who got A's and good grades and they didn't give a fuck about it, but they killed in basketball during lunch and they happy as fuck,
Right.
right? So you excited about this A that they don't give a fuck about, but they hit a 3-point shot during lunch and they've never been able to do that before. They come running too excited and you're like, oh, okay, that's cute, and you keep moving. You don't realize that
Mm-hmm.
that's discouraging. and they're looking for that validation. So now their goals are something that's going to please you versus things that make them intrinsically happy. So
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer in pushing, as much as possible, reflecting that intrinsic validation. That doesn't mean I never say good job. I mean, it's a habit. You say those things. Because there
Yeah.
are people who believe you never tell a child good job. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't, but I mean, it's this language. You're fine. The kid's
You
not going to
know,
die.
not to cut you off. So like this makes me think about my dad's side of the family. I've learned through my transparency talks for my podcast, Cookies and Conversation, that a lot of my followers or anybody that really weighs into my talks, they have issues with their dad's side of the family. So
Mm-hmm.
my mom's side of the family versus my dad's side, it's very oil and water. Like my mom's side of the family is like, like we support you, we got you, like whatever encouragement you need, whatever you need to enhance yourself. If like my mom's side is very like, we will invest in you. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
like my dad's side is very they're very cookie cutter, very traditional. God forbid, like I didn't do well with something, I would get fussed at or I would get judged. I remember actually I graduated from high school and I literally was just kind of like, I want to go to school for beauty. Like I took a year off, like after I graduated, because I really wanted to get back to myself because high school was hard. And I just really wanted to get back to me before I really jumped into anything new. And I literally, I was just like, I really want to go into beauty school. And I remember being judged about it. I remember my
Mm-hmm.
family, like my dad's side of the family, specific members, they were like, okay, so maybe you should just go to school and be a lawyer. Like that will take care of the bills, like you'd be better off at that. And I'm like, but that's not what I want to do. Like I'm the type of person that's like, I can do a lot of stuff, but I can't give my all if my heart isn't in it. And from a young age, I'm talking like I vividly remember like all the way back to kindergarten, like I knew that beauty was something that was meant for me. And my parents supported me. My dad, he was all on board, but he was more like coming from a business standpoint, and I understood it, but I was just kind of like, I don't want to hear it. Like he was very like, yeah, like you should like take on some business classes. I was like, don't add more to my load that I'm not interested in. Like I don't want to hear that. And he would be like, I'm just trying to help. I'm like, I get it, but I'm good. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that I'm still not open to it. Like I learned a lot of my business techniques and who I am as a businesswoman through working from by way of the retail jobs that I worked. So
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, like I'm talking numbers, strategy, like I know a lot. Like I'm very much an experienced person. Like I can gain knowledge from anything and everybody, but I'm very much like a technical person. So I remember like just like being criticized for that. I actually
Mm-hmm.
remember I graduated from high school. Like sometimes like that first year, like after you graduate, you want to go back, visit your alma mater, blah blah blah. And so that's what I did with one of my best friends. We went, and the teacher that I spoke to, he was my junior math teacher. And it kind of like stuck with me. I don't even think he remembers saying this to me, right? Going back to what you were saying about school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I vividly remember he was like, yeah, so what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm just working right now. I'm just trying to take it easy. I'm trying to get back to me. And then I plan on going to school. At that time, it was cosmetology. I ended up going to school for aesthetics with the Veda Institute. So I was just kind of like, well, I'm looking at this school. Like, I really wanted to go to St. John's University, but that's not really for me. I don't want to do another 4-year type of thing. I just really want to do me and do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I'm talking to a Black man with locks about cosmetology, right? Cosmetology includes hair. And he was like, well, you can't make a living off of that. Do you really think you're going to make it based off of like being in the beauty industry? And I was like, oh,
Wow.
heard you. I kind of looked at him differently after that. I mean, like we still have like a decent relationship, but it ended up, excuse me, being strange simply because of the fact that he was kind of like, putting down
Yeah.
my dreams. Next thing you know, I ended up going to the school and just really doing my thing and being successful. So here I am.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I think sometimes parents, especially, think
Yeah.
they're really helpful. Um, they think they're encouraging you. They think they're supporting you. And
Right.
the reality is sometimes it can be discouraging because they're worried. So
Right.
that's one of the things I teach about in my class is how sometimes the fear can get in the way of what you think you're. So you think you're teaching one thing, and you're doing some complete opposite,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes the fear of what their child might do, or the fear that the child might not be successful, or that, all those type of something, the fear that your child will get hurt. All those things are real. The fears make sense, but sometimes out of fear, we react in ways that do the opposite of what our goal is, right?
Yes.
So, like I often talk about, sometimes we can drive disconnection when we're looking for connection, right? We're saying, "Oh, I want my kid to just do better and do great in school, and that's why I'm doing this, and I'm super strict, and they get this, and this happens, and the grades don't get any better, because
Yeah.
your goal was to get those grades better, but you don't realize how much you were discouraging them. You don't realize how much stress you added to them. So
Right.
those grades aren't going to get any better because they're just more stressed than they were from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because the fear, or when kids, I was my favorite story to tell is when is because this is a very common one. People who have teenagers that come home late,
Right.
right? You tell your kid be home at 9, 8, 9. They come home 10, 11, and they come walking in the house. And your fear. Now the thing is, you might even be conscious of it, and the kid definitely ain't thinking about it because kids don't think about that shit.
Yeah.
You know the world and what's out there, so you're in fear. So they come walking through that door. Your first reaction isn't, "Oh my God, I was so worried. I just love you so much, and I didn't know what was going out in the world. I didn't know where you were, and when you didn't come home, my heart was pounding, and I was about to call the police." That's not what comes out their mouth. What comes out their mouth? Where the fuck you been?
Right. So this is not what I'm trying to hear right now. Thanks.
Right. And so now what you end up with is a kid who still stays out late because they know regardless they're gonna come home to an angry
And get
parent.
fussed at. Yeah.
Why come home at 8:05? I can come at 10:05.
Right.
So
Exactly. Like
what the goal was to keep them safe, and you undermined your own goal because you didn't realize you were driving. That fear was driving the disconnection. And so sometimes I think parents think they're connecting with us, and what's happening is their fears. It's like a lot of times we talk about, like with moms, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of times women who were had a certain experience, maybe sexual experience or even negative sexually happened to them in their younger years, especially teenage years. What happens is their daughters, when they get a certain age, reach that same age. And this isn't just women and daughters, it's most parents. When the kids reach a certain age where the parent experienced a trauma,
Yeah.
they begin to almost be abusive to their kid, not realizing that it's happening. So your daughter comes out in this mini skirt because that's what girls do and have been doing since mini skirts were invented, right?
Yeah.
And your first thought is, I was assaulted at that age when I wore certain things,
Yeah.
or someone looked at me a certain way. I don't want that to happen to my daughter. And
For
so
me,
you end up being abusive to the daughter.
Yes.
Calling her, I mean, I've had parents who confess they call their daughter a whore. They call, all these things because they're thinking, they're in panic mode. They had their own trauma in their childhood. Now it's impacting how they parent their children because of their fears.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. Like, I didn't necessarily experience that from my parents, thankfully. I mostly experienced it from my dad's parents. So I don't, off the top of my head, because I kind of keep my relationship with my grandfather and my grandmother on my dad's side in the back of my head. Like, granted, we used to be very close, but it got to a point where it was like, you just got to cut off people for your well-being, blood or not. Over the years, especially when I was younger, I can specifically speak on my older sister and I, because we're a year and a half apart. I vividly remember holidays. Let's talk about specifically Christmas. Naturally, like, if anyone keeps up with me, like, for anybody that's watching this, you will see that I am naturally a curvy woman. I have been like this my whole life. I can hear you.
I had myself on mute because I was drinking my water. But
oh, my bad.
No, I was saying we saw you was curvy as soon as you leaned back, girl.
Oh, you can't help it. Just a little bit, I got thicker over quarantine, but we here.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Stefan or Steven. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Thank you so much for the $5 donation super sticker. We appreciate it. And if anyone else would like to support, please hit that super chat. Ask us a question, leave a comment, donate, support. We're also available on Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal, all under Champagne Sharks. If you want to support. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. One thing that I experienced from them growing up, like, let's take it all the way back to Christmas. A lot of my trauma comes from my dad's side of the family, and it's just like little things that I didn't realize would impact me as I got older. But I remember, like, my other set of cousins, so my dad's sister's kids, they would get every kind of gift that they would want. Like, I mean, whatever they asked for, they would get. My sisters and I, like, we would express what we would want, but we weren't completely particular. It was very like, yeah, you know what we like. It is what it is. My grandmother and my grandfather would specifically get us clothes that would cover up our body, like cover our curves and things like that. Like the most like not even kid friendly clothes. Like I'm talking about these niggas will go to fucking Lane Bryant for some shit. Like I'm only 10. Like why are you getting me stuff from
What?
there?
Oh,
Yes. Wow. Like it was to the point they just did not feel comfortable with the fact that we were more developed. Whereas my aunt and like obviously like the genetics from her husband, they passed down. Like they're like they were smaller than us. Like they're not as curvy. Like they're more like this. So like it's a thing. But the thing is like we would always get treated differently by way of passive aggressive actions like that. And then they would get upset with us with the fact that it's like, okay, why aren't you wearing the gift that we bought you? Because well, one, it makes me look like an old woman and I'm 10. Like that doesn't make any sense. But one thing I have always noticed is that I don't know. I mean, I take pride in being a very thick woman. Like I talk about it on everything, but it's more so that I think that experience taught me to really embrace who I am as a thicker woman, as like just as a Black woman. Like a lot of the time, like we're built a little bit different, So it's like I'm not going to allow, like I made a conscious effort, my sisters and I specifically made a conscious effort to not allow that experience to dictate how we move throughout life. It's like,
and that's hard.
Yeah,
that's hard to do because I mean, well, one, you have to be conscious or aware that it is impacting the way you move throughout your life, right? Because I wasn't aware of it. I was just, so growing up, I was developed. And I was also I started to gain a lot of weight.
Yeah.
After having had a really big traumatic transition of living with my mom to living with my dad, then my dad being abusive, physically abusive, and emotionally and psychologically and verbally abusive, highly. Like if I told you some of this shit, y'all be like, "What the fuck?"
No, that's me with the last guy I was with, so I feel you. Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly where I was going to go next.
Yes.
My father was an abusive narcissist. I've talked about this in this show multiple times.
Yeah.
That I didn't realize how much that impacted me until literally a year or two ago. Specifically the narcissism. Now I knew the abuse had impacted all kinds of things, such as my weight, such as all these other things, because I learned more about the way childhood trauma impacts you biologically.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand relationships and how my father's narcissism impacted the unhealthy relationships that I was in literally since my first relationship.
Yeah.
Almost all my relationships were with narcissists. But I didn't know what a narcissist was. I knew the term, but I didn't know what to look for, right? The way I saw relationships was based off of how I was interacting with my father. So when I got into a healthy, not healthy, when I got to my first relationship, someone humiliating me or putting me down or telling me I'm not good enough wasn't usual. That's all I've known.
Yeah.
You don't know that it's impacting other parts of your life, right? I held myself back from a million opportunities. I think we talked earlier about the picture thing. Like, there's a 10-year era of zero pictures of me. That at least no pictures that I know of. Now, my family would do fucked up shit and take pictures without me knowing. Of
course.
And they think that shit was funny or cute. They think that shit. And it wasn't until fairly recent mom had to tell them, like, you don't understand, like, she has a real problem. Like, this is not, you don't just take pictures of her. It's not how that works. But I was holding myself back from a lot of work opportunities, especially working in media, because everything transitioned to camera. And I was well over 300 pounds. I was like 320 pounds or something.
Yeah.
And I was going through a depression, so I ended up gaining as much weight as I did and all that. I had opportunities to speak at places, to be on TV, around a lot of my media work, and everything was going from just audio. I worked in radio, so going from radio, audio to everything's visual, like we're doing now.
Right.
I had a whole media publication business, and I didn't want to be on camera, which caused a lot of issues between me and my business partner at the time. Yeah. I let that dictate how I felt about myself because I was always told your weight makes you inadequate,
Mm.
right? If you weigh above a certain amount, if you look a certain way, you are no longer valid as a person. You're inadequate as a person. You're a failure as a person. You're not worthy of love. Nobody wants to see your disgusting self. You know, those are things you tell yourself. So I was missing out on work, opportunities, all these things, money. I can't tell you how much money I passed up on because they wanted me to moderate. Like I was asked to moderate a panel.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be on television, and I said no.
Yeah,
and
no, I get it. I get it.
they're going to pay me, you know.
Yeah.
So it was impacting how I moved in my career. It was impacting how I moved in my relationships. I found myself in relationships with people who would humiliate me in public, and it was so normalized for me that I learned to internalize it and say it was my own fault, right?
Mm.
Because it's what kids do, by the way. So what
Yeah.
happens when parents are abusive to their children, and people are like, well, how can you, people talk to adults now? They're like, well, how can you still fuck with your parent after all that? The reality is this: most kids actually love their parents harder after things
Yeah.
like that. And that's
Yeah.
because they want the love even harder.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up, no matter how bad that parent treated them, those kids don't think something's wrong with my parent. They
Mm.
don't say, oh, my mama crazy. They say
Right.
something's wrong with me. If my own mother or my own father, the people that brought me life, people that are my primary caregivers, don't even think I'm worthy of love, then I must not be worthy of love. They
Yeah.
internalize. And we don't realize how that grows and develops us in our bodies and our brains. So when I say biological, you know, your brain is used to certain things. You don't see things as red flags if you're used to them.
Yeah.
For some women, a man humiliating them or putting them down is like, nigga, who? Red flag, this nigga crazy.
Yeah.
But if you're used to that, that's not a red flag to you. That's normal. That's just what's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to happen. So we don't
Yeah.
even realize how it impacts us in our decisions.
Yeah. Like I think that I can't really speak on my dad. My dad, he wanted all boys. He was blessed with all girls. So he has four girls. So there's certain things that he would never really weigh in on. He would just kind of be like, why are you showing so much skin? All right, whatever. And he just keep pushing. You know, like my mom was definitely like more active in that area for me. But I think naturally, like I've just been a pretty low-key person. Like I definitely embrace who I am as a woman, but ultimately, like I don't really like put myself out there like a lot of people. So when I do pop out, they be like, oh, okay, I'll see you. But one thing that I realized, like, uh, after being with so many narcissists in a row, it's very unfortunate how you don't even realize that sometimes the shit that they do to you, it just kind of gets ingrained in your mind and you end up moving a certain way.
Yes.
My you know my child's father, he he always loved how outspoken I am as a woman. He loved how confident I was. But then when I was pregnant with our daughter, he was worried that she would be too confident. He was worried that she would be too too full of herself. And I was like, you got to understand, she has two very black parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very important that she knows who she is as a woman and as a black woman. But specifically talking about her as a child, because she will only be 3 in May. She needs to be confident as a black child. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like for me, like it's non-negotiable that she has to be a confident black girl. Like I give my child the space, even though she's only about to be 3. You know, I at a young age, I want her to understand that she always has space and opportunity to like grow and embrace who she is and, just be her most authentic self. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing her dad has always been afraid of. When I was with this guy that I should not have been with, and I tried to get out as early as I could, it
Before
just
you
didn't.
move forward,
Yeah,
because I don't lose that thought because I
yeah.
want to explain that. Your child's father, your daughter's father, was his fear at all based in how he experienced outspokenness?
Mm.
Like, was he met negatively when he tried to be outspoken? Because there's a lot of
Yes.
fear to because he's that's a trauma that
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't even realize. And this is how I'm stopping so people to
No,
realize
no, it's
it
cool.
gets
Yeah.
passed down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without him even realizing that. whatever that situation was in his, or those situations or experiences were in his life, where he tried to speak up, probably in his family or people around him, in school, wherever, and he was met with animosity, and it's become a fear now for his daughter.
Yes.
So what happens then is he begins to not saying he's doing this because this is all hypothetical where I'm moving forward with this because I don't know him. But what can happen with some parents is they then begin to try to stifle the child's ability to speak up. You don't you talk back to me, and all they did was ask a question, things like that.
Yeah.
And that's trauma being passed. That's the literal example of how trauma can get passed down without you being conscious of it,
Yeah.
right? So not even being aware that that impact of whatever those experiences were, he's now saying, I must stifle my daughter's ability to speak out because I don't want her to be hurt. I don't want her to be in danger. I
Yes.
don't want, and that's, and again, it's the fear. Remember, I talked about the fear driving something is going to create a bigger problem than what they think they're trying to solve.
Yes. Like from even when we were together, like he would, but I mean, obviously we butt heads with our family, like that's no problem. But he would be like, thank you, Harlow.
Thank you,
He would be
Harlow.
like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. Right? Like, and he would even like say that in disagreements with me. I'm like, you don't have to keep your mouth shut. You just have to be more productive with how you say it. Like, you have to understand that how you
That's a
communicate.
trauma response. So what I want to let people
Yes.
know are trauma responses. That's a literal trauma response.
Yes.
People they don't like the conflict, so they throw their hands up.
And you know what's crazy? That nigga causes so much conflict that he doesn't even, I mean, rewind. He
Like
realizes it, but it's like, I think you and I were talking about this earlier. It's like, like he knows that certain things are wrong, but then can we do the same shit but worse? It's
people
like,
who hate drama but create drama because they've only known drama, so it's all they know how to recreate.
and like I did, and I'm not. I don't knock anybody for the shit that they go through. I just didn't end up growing up like that. Like my dad he's just problematic, right? But like, like I'm grateful to have a mother that was very, like, my parents are very yin and yang. I'm very grateful to have a mother that, would always, even though my dad and I would butt heads, like both of my parents collectively, like they would just be like, express yourself, say what you have to say. But my dad is very much like, okay, well, I'm the parent, so even if I'm wrong, I'm right. Whereas my mom is like, okay, I can take accountability for my actions and I hear you, and like I realized the deeper I got into my relationship with baby daddy, I realized like I didn't, well, rather I didn't realize how much he was like my father and how his family was like my dad's side of the family.
Crazy,
Until
right?
I was
You realize
right.
that?
But here's the thing, I didn't realize he was like that and they were like that until I was pregnant. That's when I was like,
It's usually something that drives it from underground, or at least heavier, more into the surface. Because the thing is, there was
yes,
probably other things there that you didn't even notice.
sure.
But things come out when people get pregnant, people get
And I made
married,
very clear to him,
somebody dies, those kind of things.
come on.
All those things get shook to the surface. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Like I am a firm believer. I come from a very strong I come from a strong woman. My mother's a strong woman. She's a very humble woman. She and I are a lot alike, so we butt heads a lot. But and that included my family is the oldest and largest documented Black family in all of America. Like I come from strong Black women. So for me, it's like I don't have any other choice but to be strong. When I was with my child's father, he knew that. Like I give my child space and opportunity to fail. Like, she's only going to be 3. So it's like, it is what it is. I'm understanding. I'm very much like her, a life coach that she didn't hire, but it just is what it is. I'm a Virgo. I can't help it, but, I think that, he and his family, especially when I was pregnant with our child, especially after all of the abuse I had been through with him specifically, I think that they were uncomfortable with the fact that I don't have an issue with shaking the table, and that I come from, again, a strong family. I come from a line of strong women, and even my father has told my child's father, like, okay, well, she's a Reedy girl. Like, what do you expect? She's going to stand her ground. She's going to speak up for herself, and she's going to keep shit pushing, like, with or without you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I take pride in that. And again, like you said, it is a trauma response. The thing is, like, I come from a family, again, that's very open with communication. You know, we want us, we allow each other to have that space and opportunity to be vulnerable and express ourselves. When you grow up in a toxic environment and that's all you know, you don't know what healthy communication looks like. Exactly. You don't know what healthy boundaries are. Like, you know, for me, like, I would even tell him, like, you know, I don't appreciate this. Like, going forward, I would ask you to do this, or going forward, I would ask you to not cross this boundary. And he just did not give a fuck. So he would just do whatever he wanted to do. And it definitely led to a lot of conflict. And for me, at the end of the day, my daughter deserves peace. Like, I think he and his family are very afraid of the fact that it doesn't really matter to me what they want, or like what they would prefer. For me, my child's peace means everything to me, and I will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that she gets that, whatever it looks like.
The thing about boundaries, and I always talk about boundaries, healthy boundaries, is a couple of things. Boundaries come with almost everything else, right?
Yeah.
Compassion is not absent of boundaries. Empathy is not absent of boundaries. Like, even my conversation with you earlier today, as well as since we've been on the stream, you have a lot of empathy for your for your daughter's father. There's some things that I've heard, but based on our conversation, you have a lot of empathy for him, and you also hold your boundaries. The thing about boundaries is people who actually care to be in your life, they adjust. They say, okay, this is the boundary, cool. I just, it might bother me at first, but I'll adjust. Other people, they get angry. They try to battle you on your boundary. That's when it gets really tough. And that's when, and I'm sure you've done this, you have to begin to shade people out or limit people's access to you altogether. Because if people are going to violate your boundaries, they don't need access to you in the same way. This is beyond just to your situation, just in general about boundaries,
No, so I definitely agree with you. Like, I, especially this year and after everything I've been through, from 2020 up until now, like, granted, in general, like, I've always been very cautious about who I invest my time in, who I surround myself with. And over time, clearly, like, people have their seasons, they show their colors, and, you keep it pushing. But, boundaries are very essential to me. This year, especially after everything I went through last year, it's non-negotiable. I think that last year also highlighted how I was horrible with boundaries. And I am in a place where, like, I'm starting to choose myself first. And again, it goes back to at the very top of the conversation, like, I'm naturally a people pleaser. And I'm learning that I can't always be that. Because at the end of the day, like, I am a priority. I am a person, and I've really got to do me.
I had a therapist who told me once in therapy, she had a philosophy. Every day she reminded herself she had 5 priorities, and she reminded her family, she had a husband and a son. Every day she reminded she had 5. She told them, these are my top 5 priorities. I'm gonna tell you what it is. Number 1, me. Number 2, me. Number 3, me. Number 4, me. Number 5, you.
Drag me, because I'm over here like, I need to do that.
Me first, me first, me first, me first, then you. And which at first sounded really selfish, because we're so conditioned to believe that taking care of yourself is selfish and negative and bad. It's a bad thing to do that. And the reality is, you have to take care of yourself first, because you can't take care of anybody else if your shit ain't straight. Let me ask you this question: are you your best as a mom if you ain't ate, ain't slept, and under stress?
No. No,
that doesn't mean you're a bad mom, because I don't believe in that.
I give myself a hard time about that. Like, I have so many moments I talk to my sisters. I'll be like, I feel like such a bad mom. Oh my God. Like, I did. Like, I'm a crier.
I'm not a parent yet. I thought they were a good parent.
Oh my God.
The only one I've met that thinks they were a good parent is
Yes.
my father, the narcissist, who did a terrible job. So
Okay, like mom guilt is a real thing, parent guilt is a real thing, but especially mom guilt because we carry our children for however many months long.
and
Like
people guilt mothers. People guilt mothers if they do anything for themselves. I've noticed that people, how dare you get your hair done or get your nails done? And watch, I'm like,
I
can she
haven't
not have?
experienced that. You know, I haven't experienced that, and I think that is because people know I'm a very selfless human being. You know what I mean? Like I was saying earlier, like I take pride in my selflessness. People know that I tend to put people before myself. Like I like to make sure the collective is good, and then I'm gonna get to me. So like when I get my hair done, like actually earlier I was like, oh my God, I get to do yoga while my child is asleep. What? And people were like, you deserve it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I actually do deserve it.
You do.
Sure. Thank you.
Because the thing is, it's hard to take care of other people when you don't take care of yourself. I go through the same shit. You know what I mean? I had to learn not to put everybody else before myself. Because that was a very bad habit of mine. I mean, I would go above and beyond for people and it wouldn't be reciprocated. And I was one of the people who was like, I wasn't a glutton for punishment. If it happened the first time, I was usually out. But the fact that I would do that and then I would be hurt, that doesn't get go in the pain of that. Yeah. But when I learned how to put up my boundaries, learned how to say no, which was really hard because I felt guilty because I always felt like, well, it's like something my therapist once told me. He said, he said, I feel like capability means responsibility. So because I think I can help, I think I'm responsible for helping. So I end up taking on more or offering help when I don't really have the capacity to help. Because I feel like, well, I know how to do this thing. You need this done. I'll just volunteer, even though I need the money or I don't have the time.
Right.
So I had to learn that capability does not have to mean responsibility.
Yeah.
Just because you're capable of something doesn't mean you're responsible for making sure it happens. Shout out to T, by the way. Everybody knows, Champagne Shark as well. I was hoping one of them would also join me tonight, but it's all good. I'm having a great time.
Also, I see you, Harlow. The cookies, I get told that they are crack.
They look like crack. So, like I said, you look out for my order slip coming. Again, shout out to Harlow. Thank you, Harlow, for participating in the chat. I really definitely appreciate you, and thank you for the donation. But at any rate, I definitely feel like being able to understand ourselves is the key to almost everything. Yes. Once you become more self-aware, where it's harder. I don't know how old you are. I don't know. Are you over 30 yet?
No, I'll be 27 in August.
So you're still a baby. So I know
I've been through so much shit though, when it's crazy.
People keep telling me that it's ageist to tell 20 somethings that they're kids. I don't care. I'm sorry.
I've been through a lot of shit. So like
but this is the thing. Well, I'll tell you this. I've been through a lot of shit. But something about when you turn 30, those 30s it's a beautiful experience. Yeah. It's a better experience because there's so much about yourself you still don't know yet that you think you know at 27.
Yeah.
There's so much you don't know. I'm still learning shit about myself. This 30s is one of probably the best journey for me. Not saying it's been easy because it hasn't been easy as hell at all. Even like I was telling you, even this morning was hard for me just to get out of bed, right? Yeah. So these things are it's work. But I will say I'm a lot more equipped to handle things now and handle things better than I did before. Before I had a bad temper. I mean, a really bad temper.
Yeah. I don't think I'm a little feisty myself. I feel you.
Look. I like how T shows up late and it's like, I want to hear more about cookies. We had a whole
conversation,
30 minutes about business and cookies and cakes and shit.
Hit me up. I got you. About it. Talk about cookies.
Don't worry, she's gonna plug it some more. And I want to post a picture, post some more pictures of her food. So stick around, T. But I forgot what I was saying. I saw that. I forgot what I was saying.
No, it's all good.
It was something dope though, because I only say dope shit. But yeah, I totally lost where I was at. But it's okay.
It's okay.
To be fair, I've been drinking. So if you guys saw
So
me,
we in this together.
I haven't even lit my shit up yet.
Look, I have
Um,
yeah, no, I feel you. A nice little cocktail. We in this together. I got you.
you got me, but you don't remember where I was at either. So
Bye. you know,
I got
going back to like one part of the conversation that we were talking about. It wasn't with my child's father, but I was in a relationship with the person that ended up assaulting me during my birthday weekend. And I think that was what really started to highlight, or rather I really started to realize how much I wasn't loving myself anymore. I'm talking like this man is a full-on narcissist. You know what I mean? Like no accountability. It's his way or the highway, gaslighting, everything. I think I realized that I wasn't loving myself as much as I did before, and I wasn't prioritizing myself as much before because he was literally like single-handedly controlling my life. And I'm talking to the point where it was kind of like, I don't have any issue. Like if if we're together and you want to, you know, you want to see my location, like that's cool. But it was more like to the point where like it was again controlling. Like he didn't want me to look appealing to other men. So like I definitely adjusted to his needs. Cause like we talked about spending forever together and things like that. And I knew at a certain point I had to get out. Like when I first got with him, I knew I had to get out. I knew it wasn't right. It didn't feel good. I kind of wish I trusted my gut. And I also I think he definitely caught me at my most vulnerable time. Like
and
on the
that's usually how that works.
yeah, exactly. Like I wasn't prioritizing myself. My business was viral. He knew I wasn't really resting or taking care of myself like that. And he really just, not only wanted to take over the business, but he just wanted to take over me as a person. And I think that was when I really just started to open my eyes over time. I was like, okay, you know what? I had to, he showed me the parts of myself that I knew I needed to heal. He showed me the parts of myself where like I really had to prioritize myself and understand that, I am a person, I do matter, and I can't really like base every move that I make, off of him or whoever, the
Yeah,
case
he's
or
a
whoever
narcissist.
it involves.
Like that shit. Because one thing I learned is narcissists don't like for you to make decisions for yourself.
Exactly. 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 Like I definitely I ended up like choosing myself, and I think that me choosing myself made him uncomfortable and shook the table. And ultimately like it really just showed who he was as a person. And again like it, and then like after being assaulted, it's an uncomfortable process. You're really like tapping back into you at who you are as a person. I think that's definitely been the hardest part of my new self-love journey, because self-love is endless. That entire journey is endless. And the further, like the deeper you go in that journey, the more layers you peel back. And I am noticing that ever since like I left him, that was like October of last year, that was when I really started to realize like, okay, like this is what you really need to do. Like I started therapy, I went into Reiki. One of my good friends is a Reiki healer. So like I really started to choose myself. And not only did I choose myself because of all the trauma that I went through, my child's father included, it was one of those things. It's like, how can you be the best version of yourself every day? How can you show up for yourself every day if you want to take care of yourself? And what, in whatever way life presents you. So yeah.
I think it's really dope that you found the healing techniques. Like you found Reiki, you found therapy, you found, and I'm a big fan of anything that enhances you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I won't lie to you, I'm probably not the most spiritual, religious, any of that. I'm not the greatest at that, mostly because of my own trauma around it. But one thing I've always been appreciative of is meditation. I've been appreciative of even prayer. I had to learn to even get into prayer. I personally don't necessarily pray, but I've learned to appreciate the prayers of others as part of my as far as internalizing what that means. Like this person thinks so much of me and cares about me so much that they're praying to have for my health or for my well-being or for
Yeah.
so regardless of what even regardless of what their religious or spiritual belief is, as the connection for me is this person cares about me. That's where I get motivated. That's where my healing comes from. So I love anything that's a spiritual practice, an emotional practice, a physical practice, such as yoga, things like that, that help you cope and heal and or go on your healing journey. Because like I said, there's no cure, but you can heal. There's healing
Right.
that's involved. And the ability to use to find those things and use those things is so beautiful. Like I'm trying to get myself back into meditation now.
That's me.
And it's tough now. I'm trying to remind people that if you've had a certain level of of physical or sexual assault in your history, meditation can be a challenge. Because it's hard to feel safe with your eyes closed, and in your mind someplace else. And sometimes being in your own brain, it can be a very scary place. So I don't knock people who aren't able to do it. I know I wasn't always able to do it, and even now I have to get back into it. Because it's a challenge for a lot of us. But if you can find the things that help you, that is the best thing. It's the best feeling. When I have out a therapist that could help me, as opposed to and understood where I was in my journey. Because one thing I didn't like is I would get therapy, and I was talking to somebody about this earlier. I had what they call sliding scale therapy. Now I'm not against sliding scale therapy. My first sliding scale therapist was wonderful. She was about to graduate. Now sliding scale therapists, for those who don't know, these are places where they're like nonprofit organizations, or their clinics or something, and they have people who are working on their hours to get their therapist license. So they're supervised by a psychologist or somebody who has their doctorate or whatever.
Right.
So the supervisor just reads their case notes and then directs them on how to work with you. Now, if you have someone who's about to graduate or about to leave, they're usually pretty good because they've been doing it for a while.
Right.
But sometimes, so my very first one, she was fine. She actually was the one who taught me the me first, then you thing. But after that, I had really bad ones. Not that they were bad, they were just so. I found myself teaching them shit. And one girl even told me in her last session with me, I'm leaving now because I finished my hours. And I just learned so much from you. And I'm like, I didn't get shit out of this. Like,
right. Like I got you.
Talking about. So I wasn't having the best of luck with that. But I definitely began to have a lot more luck when I found when I knew when I did my own healing, I had my own healing journey that I went on. And then it was easier to find exactly what I needed for my situation. Because if you don't really know what your problem is, you're just going to therapy generally, you don't always know if that's going to help you. It's trial and error. And it sucks. It's shitty trial and error. Just like depression medications are a shitty trial and error because it fucks with your head. Same shit with therapy. It's going to be a shitty trial and error. But if you find somebody, it's like the best experience. I have a Black male therapist, and he changed my life, completely changed it because he helped me address my outlook, how I see myself, and also helped me identify a lot of these beliefs and how I see myself didn't come from myself.
Yeah.
They came from my experiences growing up, and not just from my parents. My parents, the thing about parents and family is they have the biggest influence. That's your first institution that you're born into is your family, right?
Percent.
But then I was going to school with other kids who were growing up in poverty, who were having their own traumas at home, like I was.
Right.
And I'm getting bullied, or I'm getting picked on because I'm one of the poorer kids, or, I was also in a religious cult, so I was weird, those kind of things, right? So it's not just your household, it's also these other things. So that completely altered the way I see myself. Just and then what's so crazy, and I told this story on here before, the wildest shit that happened to me is I was at a bar one time, and I was just minding myself with somebody else, and I was talking or kicking it, and this girl walks up to me, and she goes, are you Vonnie? That's my name. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, who the hell are you?
Right.
Kind of familiar. But she was like every other Black girl in LA, or every other mixed Black girl in LA. And so I was like, yeah, what's up? And so she's like, she says, it's me. And she tells me her name. And she goes, I just saw it was you. I just want to tell you, like, I'm so sorry for everything that happened in middle school. Just like,
Okay.
yeah. And the thing is, when we were talking, and I was like, it was tough. Because when she started talking, I remember certain things that happened, and I was like, yeah, that shit definitely had a huge impact on me at the time, and probably as an adult. But at that point, when I was talking to her, I was so further along in my healing journey. Um, so she goes, I told her, I said, yeah, the thing that made it the toughest wasn't even just you, because that's school shit. The fact that I would deal with that on top of having to go home to get bullied some more.
Yeah.
And you know what she told me? She said, she started crying. She said, I was getting abused at home too. So you have these two kids in a
Yeah.
school that can't support them because
Mm.
nobody taught us how to interact with each other. Nobody taught us how to have empathy for each other. Nobody taught us how to communicate. All they told us was stop that, don't do that. I'm gonna separate you two. That's all they told us. Nobody taught us how to communicate. So here we are, two girls, both in pain, trying to figure out how to get along with each other, and we can't. She only knows how to be a bully, and I only know how to take it. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So when she starts, so she's apologizing to me, and she's crying, and we're having this heart to heart, and I had to let her know, like, I'm not holding any grudge. Well, I don't hold grudges like that. At least not over no shit like that. Especially now that I know so many of us being, poor black kids, going to school together, without parents that know how to support us. Because let's be honest, a lot of the traditions in black households are unhealthy. Not because our parents don't love us, but because the only way they've ever known to protect us is to be authoritarians. That's
Yeah.
all they've ever known. If your entire existence in this country has been to follow orders or you die, that's what they teach your kids. You teach your
Yeah.
kids you follow orders or you suffer. Not because we don't love our kids, but because if I don't beat you, massa will. If I don't beat you, the police will. That's the logic that we have. So our
Unfortunately.
parents do the best they can, trying to raise kids, bullying them, not realizing that's what's happening. They think they're keeping us safe. My father, I believe, my father loves me. I really believe that. I think he didn't know any better, and he was
Yeah.
mentally ill, and a lot of other issues, and not enough support, and no support for him growing up. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
It's like that was
And
my relationship with my dad. Like, not to cut you off, but like
he,
the way I see it, it's like it's not my dad's fault that he was raised around fucked up people. Like, like
really,
my dad is the youngest. Both sides of my family are very big. Don't get me wrong. It's just that my mom's side is a little bit different. Like, historically, my dad's side it's definitely very big. My dad is the youngest of all of his cousins. He was the youngest out of the three of his siblings. So all he knew from like just from being a child and up is trauma. Like he doesn't
mm-hmm,
really know any better. So like I try, to a certain degree to give him the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time it's kind of like I look at it as like, okay, you're an old man, right? Like you got to
mm-hmm.
learn to grow from or grow through what you went through, what you experienced, cuz like the moment you allow your trauma to become who you are, that it changes everything.
No, that's real. The other thing is, again, empathy is never absent of boundaries. I have all the empathy in the world for my father. I really
Yeah.
do. He was an abusive alcoholic because he was raised by an abusive alcoholic, who was
Yeah.
also raised by an abusive alcoholic.
Mm.
And I got to think about my great grandfather and my grandfather. What was their experiences growing up?
Yeah.
They had to walk down the road and see bodies that looked like them hanging from a tree
Mm.
on their way to school. How does that
Mm.
impact how you see your life and yourself? How does it
Yeah.
impact your ability to feel like you can protect your family?
Yeah.
How does that feel like? I mean, so I think about that. So if you have these people who have been traumatized since they were born, inherited trauma, probably traumatized in the womb,
Yeah.
and they're passing down that trauma. Now, mind you, this isn't just socially. Social learning theory is a theory, right? Around, basically whatever your parents did, those behaviors, you inherit those same behaviors, because that's what you know. That's
Right.
normalized. If your parents cook a certain way, you probably cook a certain way, right? That's why people keep talking. Your parents can't cook. Your parents can't. As our parents have different recipes, right? Our
Right.
families just
Okay.
there's nothing to make your way wrong. It's just different.
Exactly.
Um, so we pass these things down socially, but we also pass these things down genetically. literally. It's called epigenetics. Your DNA, the DNA expression is altered based off of your trauma. So what they found is, for example, Holocaust survivors' grandchildren would have PTSD despite not having been through the Holocaust, right? Come to find out the DNA have been altered. So their bodies and their DNA is now prepared to be born into a situation such as a war zone or an internment camp. So they become hyper vigilant. Their amygdalas in their brain are constantly going off. That's your brain's basically the beginning of your brain's fear response system. Right. So in the Holocaust was what, how many years? 5, 10 years, some shit like that. How long was slavery? Over 300 years.
Yeah.
And the trauma never stopped. You had 300 years of slavery, another 100 years of lynching.
It's a lot.
And then we still see people get killed in the street today and nothing happens, right? There's no justice for them. So we've been traumatized and we've been living in trauma, continuously living in trauma, and we've been passing it down and not even realizing we're passing it down, not just socially, right? So we talk about like stress in utero, meaning like when your mother is pregnant with you, anything your mother's experiencing, you're experiencing, right?
Yeah.
So my mother was abused physically while she was pregnant with me.
Yeah.
I was born with anxiety, right? So my brain basically, so that's why I question the whole ADHD stuff because, well, mostly from learning about trauma and shit. I don't need to change my perspective on a lot of that shit. But a lot of shit happened, I think, because of that trauma I was experiencing literally in the womb. Because now my body is being prepared to be born into an abusive situation. So my brain learns to be hyper vigilant.
Yes.
Be prepared to be born into a war zone. That's what happened. That's what's happening with your body. Your mother is whatever your mother's experiencing is affecting you because your body has to be prepared for the type of environment you're going to be born into.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Like, my pregnancy with my daughter was very traumatic, like I highlighted earlier. My child's father abused me when I didn't know I was carrying our child. Off and on during my pregnancy, and then the day after the day after I was discharged from the hospital after giving birth. I think, like, I actually vividly remember, like, there were moments where his mother would stress me out or he would stress me out, and I could feel, like, obviously, like, at a certain point, like, you can feel like the baby's heartbeat. So, like, I could literally, like, when my heartbeat increased, hers did too. And that's how I knew. I'm like, I can't be around anybody like this. And I think that the first time I ever experienced that was when I knew I had to not only be mindful about who I surround myself with, but, like, I knew I had to protect her and give her all the peace that she deserves by any means necessary. I think the most traumatic thing I went through with him is that I saved him from, taking his life. And, having to deal with that when, you're carrying said person's child, like, that's traumatic within itself. Because then you're in a position where it's like you have to mentally prepare yourself to be like, okay, well, am I going to have to teach my child, like, who their parent is? You know what I mean? And I think, like, looking
It's a heavy thing to have to think about having.
Yeah, it's really heavy. I think I was only maybe like 5 months pregnant. It was the week before his birthday. It was a lot, like, and after everything we had been through, I'm like, this is the last thing I really need to go through. I think that the more or the longer that I was with him, the more I realized I needed to be without him. And the more I learned that it was literally non-negotiable for me to choose my peace and for her to be set up with the best. The way I see it now, it's more like, anything that you do now that's a disservice to the family dynamic that we have now created, it's more like you're creating trauma that she does not deserve. How can you say that you want your child to have the best, but you're not setting your child up with it? So it's definitely a very heavy situation. It's definitely something that I would never wish on anybody. I would never want anybody to go through anything that I've been through, but I definitely want my story to be a testimony, because it's just I think it's really important for people to just choose themselves, like, no matter how hard it is.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, being able to choose yourself is hard when you don't feel like you deserve to be chosen.
Yeah, and he definitely made me feel like that a lot of the time. Like the things
Mm-hmm.
that he loved about me ended up being, you know, things that he didn't want our daughter to inherit, or he just did not want me to be who he fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first relationship where I felt like I had to water myself down for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then once, you know, he left, it was more like he consciously left. And for me, it was more like I think that showed me, you know, in the middle of my postpartum, it's like, okay, you really have to choose yourself first. You really have to prioritize yourself. Because at the end of the day, and I always tell people at the end of the day, you got to take care of you, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Harlow, yes, it's called epigenetics.
Yeah.
EPIGENETICS. So EPI genetics. And I really recommend people look into that. The other thing I want people to look into based off of this discussion, and we're going to wrap in a second because it's going to be about 2 hours. I'm going to give you guys some time to rest. I know it's late on your end too. Um, but the adverse childhood experiences study, I talk about it a lot on this show because I think it's important that we look at it. Now, I'm not saying define yourself by a number or a score based off of that
Yeah.
ACC. Don't do that, and don't try to score others and label others, any of that shit. It's just a guide, the way I see it. But looking at the impact of how our experiences as children impact our biological, neurological, psychological health is really important. I
Yes.
was listening to this audio from Dr. Vincent Felitti, who's the person who came up with the study, along with the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. And he was saying that if you have a score of 6 or more, you're 4,000 times more, 4,000% more likely to become addicted to drugs or alcohol.
Mm.
If you or become obese, right? So he found, like in his study, for it started off as an obesity study, and they found that 55% of the people in the study that were in this obesity study have been sexually assaulted as children. 55%.
That's too big of a number.
And they found that in the other percentage, it was other physical abuse and other traumas um, associated with the obesity. And
Yeah.
nobody talks about that. I
Yeah.
always find it to be interesting. We have all these conversations online about weight and who should or shouldn't love themselves, or listening to the doctor or not listening to the doctor or whatever. But no, because even doctors don't talk about this.
Right.
The fact that your weight and your health, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, depression, anxiety, all these things are literally increased. The chances of dealing with these things are literally increased
Yeah.
depending on how much trauma or adversity you experienced in your childhood. Um, I'll show you guys. Yeah, it's high. Is that an audio I just heard from Dr. Vince Felitti? Like I said, he's one of the creators of the study, the average childhood experiences study.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because the study was an obesity study. It wasn't a health study overall. They
Right.
expanded it to that after discovering that the women in his obesity study, he tells a story about this woman. She was in her 20s. She was over 400 pounds.
Mm.
Through their program, they were able to get her down. I forgot how many weeks it took or how many months it took, maybe 10 months. And she was down to 130 something pounds.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
somehow within 2 weeks,
good.
she gained like 37 pounds shortly after that. And
Yeah.
then eventually she was right back up to the weight she started at.
Yeah. Like I.
And
Mm-hmm. Oh
but
my
what
bad.
I would say real quick, what they found is when he talked to her, what happened was when she lost that weight, she was becoming more men were approaching her and hitting on her. And so someone at her job had hit on her, a much older man. Now I'm gonna give you guys a trauma warning. So I'm gonna say something really traumatic in a second. So please be ready.
Yeah. Same.
Um, so she was hit on by this older man, and it traumatized her. It triggered her, and she went right back into eating and gaining the weight.
Yeah.
And when he asked her about it, and they were doing the interview, and he was talking to her, and he found out she had a childhood incestuous relationship with her grandfather.
Mm.
So when that older man hit on her, it re-traumatized her, and she went back to where she felt safest.
Yeah.
Because if you're overweight, and big you think, that's less likely for men to hit on me. That's just like I'll become less attractive.
That was what my ex wanted. The one that I was with, the one that assaulted me. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. And I don't want to share this to trigger anybody, but it's definitely a part of my story that I'm still finding the confidence to talk about. So I'm very happy to have this platform to discuss it. Uh Before I was with him, and even during like the first few months that I was with him, that was probably one of the best times of my life, physically. And I learned that the longer that I was with him, the more that I adjusted to his needs and what he wanted. My body automatically responded to the trauma. And like I ended up, I mean, obviously the quarantine weight, that's one thing, relationship weight, that's another thing. But like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that I was putting on trauma weight. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like he wanted me to look a certain way. So like people didn't find me attractive. Thankfully,
Mm-hmm.
people still did and still do.
Because the funny thing is, I learned this too. Like
Yeah,
I've been subconscious about even being on here since I've gained weight during quarantine,
same. Yeah.
and that hasn't stopped the heart emojis.
Right, right. But you
weight,
know, the thing for me, like,
weight gain, weight loss never stopped anybody.
right, for me, it didn't happen until after the assault. Like that's when everything drastically changed for me physically. And
Mm,
I think that ties back into the very top of our conversation. My self-love journey has been very difficult because like after being assaulted, it's like, you know, your guard goes up. And then again, like adding on like the physical part of it, like he didn't want me to be attractive to anybody. It adds another layer to like really getting back to me. I think it's very sad that people get so caught up in, you know, their narcissism and, you know, their insecurities to a point where they project it onto you, and then it affects your relationship with yourself. Um and I'm just in a place now where it's like I really, again, am choosing myself first. I think it's very unfortunate that, you know, as narcissists do, they take advantage of vulnerable people. I'm saying all this to say, like, I really want everyone to make a conscious effort to choose themselves. Anybody that asks you to change yourself, or like, you
mm-hmm.
know, if any red flag, yellow flags too, like anything that triggers you to any degree, um be mindful. I think he knew when I was with him that food was a trigger for me. I was very particular about what I consumed. I still am, just because I mean, like, I treat myself, but like I don't like to go overboard. And the thing is that he wanted me to always be overboard, so to a certain degree, like, he was abusive through things like that. And it's a very and I remember, like, I think it was probably like November-ish, I started to real oh no, not even November, but October, I started to change. I started to physically, you know, see a difference within myself. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm starting to actually see that this is an environment that's not meant for me. This is a person that I can't invest my energy into because they're not putting positive energy, excuse me, into me.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want everybody to just take away from this, again, like, prioritize yourself, take care of yourself, and don't, you know, diminish yourself for anybody. The moment you see something that's not, you know,
Absolutely. That's what,
positive, dip.
this is the thing. This is why it's important when you have a healthy outlook on yourself, or you're in a healthy space mentally. Sometimes you might love yourself, but you're just not in that space mentally healthy
Yeah.
at that moment. Like you said, I think so. The last boyfriend or the last guy you were with got you at a vulnerable moment. Um, the thing is, when we're in those spaces, sometimes we don't. We're clouded, so you don't even know to look for any signs because
Right.
the other part just feels so good. The sad part about being with a narcissist in my situation, because I was definitely a codependent, and I actually read a book about this later, which totally made everything make sense. I stopped beating myself up for it. But even though it was hard, I was. It wasn't a. It felt good being with this person. What do I mean by that? It didn't feel good in the sense that this person made me feel good about myself, but it didn't feel like hell every day. It was almost like it was exciting. And you don't know that those chemicals that are flooding in your body, the oxytocin and all that, is literally your body's fear response system reacting all over again. Because
Right.
what happens with women is when we have another survival response. So there's fight, flight, and freeze, which most of us know about. Women also have another one called appease. So it's fight, flight, freeze, appease. Appease is when our bodies flood with oxytocin and we become more bonded with our abusers. So this is why a lot of women don't leave. It's not just because they're scared to leave. Sometimes they're chemically bonded. They feel as though they have to kind of befriend the danger or be appeasing to the danger to stay safe. So I would be in relationships where that oxytocin is flooding my system. So I'm feeling like I'm just infatuated and in love because, you know, his confidence makes me feel good because I don't have confidence, right? His strength makes me feel good because I don't have that same strength. So I'm feeding off of what the narcissist has, not realizing that, you know, because it feels good and it's exciting,
Yeah.
I'm actually suffering under it, right? That's when I gained the most weight, was when I was dealing with him. It didn't even occur to me that these things were connected.
Right.
So you don't always know what to look for when you're in a certain mind space. You don't always know that there's something that you should be looking for. I read this amazing book called The Human Magnet Syndrome, and I talk about it all the time. There's another great book called Attached, which has a slightly different perspective, but pretty much the same type of idea, which is that our experiences in relation, our first experience relationship is with our families.
Yeah.
And that has a direct impact on how we get into relationships when we get older. And what happens with codependents and narcissists is they're usually children of narcissists, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is they become magnets for each other because that's the kind of relationship each of them know.
Yeah.
The codependent feeds the ego of the narcissist, and the narcissist makes the person who's codependent feel, for whatever reason, just have to feel safer with them. Because why? Because they're strong, they're confident, you know, they're the tough person. They're, you know, they don't let people run them over because they think they're God and shit in their head.
Right. For whatever reason. I know.
So it ends up happening, we become attracted to that. We become magnets for each other, and it feels exciting. And it's hard to even get out of it sometimes because even when you try to separate, you come right back together because you guys are basically made for each other. Sadly, not in a good way. Not in a good way. So when I read that book, it totally changed my life and my outlook, and it helped me understand what I was looking at. Because when I was in it, I couldn't see any of this. I thought most things were my fault. Things were normal in relationships. I thought he was damn near a god. You know, I thought he was the greatest guy on earth. And I didn't realize how ridiculous I sounded until years later. That's what I thought. But when you're a codependent, you really don't know much better. You know?
Yeah.
I wanted to real quick go into, because they didn't even know about the correlation between obesity and adverse childhood experiences. And there's a really great website called Aces Too High. And I'm going to share this real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. And then we're going to show some more of your cookies, and then we're going to roll out.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, girl.
I'm always down for whatever. Come on.
So, like, this is an article from acestoohigh.com. And they talk about toxic stress from childhood and, you know, how that's addressed, how that's linked to obesity. And they go into the study, the ACEs study. But there's multiple articles on this. So here it says, here's the critical irony. Many people who are obese look at eating as a solution, not a problem. Food offers comfort, a sure but temporary escape and relief from stress, bad memories, shame, or guilt, even when obesity becomes uncomfortable or even life-threatening. So even though it's hurting us, the food is the quickest, easiest high we can get that pleasure in a highly stressful environment, a highly stressful life, especially things that are constantly triggering to us. Feeling shame, feeling guilt, all those things. Thank you, Matthew. I'm glad you like the show. And there's a ton of articles on it. All you literally have to Google is I want y'all in my email. All you literally have to Google is obesity and trauma or obesity and ACEs, and a ton of stuff will come up. So please look into that. And it's not just obesity. That's just what I'm talking about now. But literally, suicidality, heart disease. Here's the questionnaire that they ask when they give you this when they give you the test, the ACEs test. So they ask you questions like, did a parent or other adult in the household often swear at you, or if the black people cuss you out, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt. So maybe they didn't hit you, but you were afraid that you could be physically hurt. Did a parent or other adult in the household often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you? Or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured?
Mm.
Did an adult or person at least 5 years older than you ever touch or fondle you, or have you touch their body in a sexual way, or attempt or actually have oral, anal, or vaginal intercourse with you?
Yeah.
Did you often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you weren't important or special, or your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? You don't even know that's a trauma for children. People don't even know that.
Yeah.
Did you often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, and had no one to protect you? Or your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or take you to the doctor if you needed it? So this is looking at neglect. Were
Yeah.
your parents ever separated or divorced? What people don't realize is for children, when parents get separated or divorced, it feels like grief. It's like a death happened in the family. That's what it feels
Yes.
like in their bodies. Were any of your parents or other adult caregivers often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something thrown at them? Or sometimes or often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, or hit with something hard, or ever repeatedly hit over the last few minutes, or threatened with gun or knife, threatened with a gun or a knife? So basically, did you witness domestic violence in your home?
Mm-hmm.
Did you live with anyone who was a problem drinker or alcoholic or used street drugs? Was a household member depressed or mentally ill? Or did a household member attempt suicide? Did
Wow.
did a household member go to prison? So these are things that they're looking at, and once you get a certain score, it tells you if you have a score of like six or more, four or more actually, you're more likely to have certain diseases, become suicidal, become addicted to drugs or alcohol, things like that. People don't even know that's a thing.
It's sad, like, and I really just want, I mean, obviously, like, I want better for everybody, but I care about our people. Like, I care about Black people so much. Like, as you were pulling stuff up, I was like, I'm typing everything because now I'm about to go into a rabbit hole tonight. Look at all this shit. But
It's
I
wild
just,
shit.
like, I feel like us Black people, we go through enough shit. Um, you know, I look at my relationship with my daughter as, like, I am her safe space. This roof that I'm under, this is our safe space. And it's very important for me to be set up, for her to be set up with the best no matter what. Like, obviously, like, she frustrates me from time to time because she gets into stuff that she ain't got no business getting into. But like, ultimately, it's just what it comes down to is just making sure that, you know, peace is what she receives. And
Absolutely. And
I
there's no
think,
perfect parent. Some days you're gonna yell,
yeah,
some days you're gonna
exactly,
scream,
exactly.
some days you're gonna think you might hit your kid. But
Right, exactly. Like, I'll pop her hand from time to time and be like, girl, you know better. But
and
we
this is
we bounce right back. You know what I'm
and I was
saying?
gonna say this is the thing, it's always important to repair the rupture. If you lost your
Absolutely.
temper and you shouldn't have, or you yelled about something and you were wrong, apologize, repair the
Always.
rupture.
Absolutely.
It's and not everything, and sometimes it's okay to acknowledge that with their kids. Like a lot of things that
Right.
another thing that I learned about from people is that people have kids and literally nobody has ever taught them child development. They have zero idea that what their child is doing is 100% normal, healthy,
Exactly.
and should be doing it. Kids
Exactly.
throw tantrums because it's literally healthy. It's natural. It's what they do. They're
Right.
operating in the part of their brain because we don't know brain development. We're never taught about our own bodies and brains, by the way.
Right.
Your children are literally in the part of their brain, their limbic system, where they're operating primarily from their emotions.
Yeah. Like,
So
there are times where my daughter throws a temper tantrum. I'm like, like, I can't do nothing about it because of how she's processing it. Like exactly what you were
the
saying.
number one
And
thing I
all
always
I can do was hold her. I'd be like, it's okay.
boom, and that's
It's all
exactly what I was
good.
about to say. The number one thing you can do is hold them and support them through it. The answer might still be no, That doesn't mean you
Right.
give them a chocolate bar because you're not trying to have them throw up before dinner. You know what I mean? Or bouncing off the
Right.
wall and all that shit. The answer might still be no, but if they're gonna kick and scream and cry, saying I always do this when kids would throw tantrums with me. I always say, I know it's hard. 'Cause I know it sounds real good, and that candy bar just tastes so good. But at the same time, I don't want you to get sick.
Exactly.
And when you say things, and they just want to know that you hear them. The no is going to be a no. You have
Yeah.
to hold your limit. You have to set limits. That's part of parenting.
Absolutely. And
They
one
can't
thing,
just do
a healthy
whatever they want.
practice, exactly, and a healthy practice that I share with my daughter is like when she's upset and and I get stressed out very easily. I get overwhelmed very easily and I can check out very easily. But like obviously as a mom, I can't always do that. So what I do is like I was able to be like, yo, like let's reel it in, Tyler. Like let's talk. Like look at me. Like let's talk. And like we do deep breathing. And
I
like
love teaching deep breathing to kids.
yeah, like and like there are times where she does it just by herself. She knows she's wilding, and I'm just kind of looking at her like, bro, like I don't know what to do. Like I'm right there, but I'd be like, at that point, like I've held her. She don't want to hear it, and like she'll check herself and she'll do the deep breathing. And I think that's very important to instill in children, just to take their time and woosah and give them the space and opportunity to feel however they're going to feel.
Mm-hmm. I definitely want you. I want to show this video. I don't know what this is showing now. Of these kids that I thought was just super beautiful. Because to me it showed parents. Well, people see kids, but what I see is parenting, and I can see how someone parented their child based off of what I just saw in this video.
Mm-hmm.
And kids who are given empathy learn how to give empathy. If they're giving it, they can give it. And I think sometimes we want our kids to have empathy for us, but we don't have empathy for them.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't understand how hard I work. I'm like, you don't understand how hard I work. Putting this Lego together was hard.
Yeah. I'm very grateful to have a child who's very empathetic. She has so many feelings, and she's literally like she's the perfect balance of the two of us.
From you.
Yeah. And she definitely gets that from me, and like I make sure I nurture that as much as possible. So I'm really glad that you're going to show this video. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I want to show you this. I thought it was super cute. I messed up. Hold on. I always forget to put that you have to share the audio part. It should just come already checked in my opinion. Whatever. All right, here we go. Can you see it?
It's loading.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I love this.
Oh my God, I just saw this the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, I shared this. Hopefully they can hear it. So the baby was upset because the controller apparently wasn't charged up and he couldn't use it.
Yeah.
So the other brother is telling him to breathe.
Yeah.
He's even demonstrating it for him. And look, he calmed down.
I love it. Like with Tyler, I take her hands and like I put it on her chest. Like when I first started to train her with her deep breathing, like I would hold her right up against me and I'd be like I just hold her really tight and be like, just breathe. Like, it's okay. And then I taught her how to do it on her own. And like after holding her, I would take her hands and I would make sure they were on her chest and I would hold it and we'd breathe together and I would motion it with myself just so she knew that, clearly it's a safe space and for her to like, so like there's sometimes like it's now gotten to a point she picked up on it very quickly over these last couple months. Like I look at her and I'm like, Tyler, just breathe. And I'll be like, I'll just have to coach her through her breathing and I won't even have to like hold her. I mean, there's times where I do, but like sometimes I don't. Like, right. And she'll do her deep breathing and she gets it together.
As she gets older, she's gonna know what to do. So what happens a lot of times parents don't teach their kids what to do when they have all these emotions. We just teach them to shut it down. Right? We don't teach them, okay, when you do have these feelings, because these feelings are real, here's what you do. And what you're doing is you're saying, here's what we do when we have these feelings. And it's funny because I have a video on my Instagram. It's me and my niece, and she had to be like maybe 3 at the time, maybe 4. I think she was 3. And I said in the video, I said, well, show people what we do when we get upset. And she breathes, and she goes in through the nose, out through the mouth, right?
Exactly.
And even now, like she has this thing she calls where she says, like my brother will tell her, like, he doesn't do timeout. And I don't necessarily advocate for that because I think it's kind of dumb. But I advocate for taking time for yourself, right? So it's not an imposed timeout, it's learning how to take time for yourself. So what my brother does, do you need time? Meaning, do you need time to yourself? So she would go into her little closet. He has a little chair in there. She has a big walk-in closet. So she'd go in there with a little chair and sit in there for a minute and calm down, do her breathing. Or now she does this thing where she says she's meditating, but she'll also say that when she doesn't want to do something, you'll be like,
Of course.
get up, pick your toys up. I'm meditating. I'm meditating, Auntie Bonnie. I'm
So
meditating.
cute.
Little girl, you are not meditating.
Right.
But the thing is, but when she gets upset or she gets angry, she knows what to do. She does her breathing, or she goes into the room. I often when I teach teachers, and I tell parents the same thing, but mostly teachers, but anybody could do this. Have a basket with a lot of items in it, like bubbles, a jump rope, paper they can tear, something they can squeeze. And that way, when they're feeling upset or having a lot of feelings, there's a basket that helps them to relieve stress. Blowing bubbles is a way to get them to breathe. Singing songs is a way to get them to breathe, right? Because a 3-year-old might not want to sit there going in through the nose, out through the mouth, but they will blow bubbles, right?
Facts.
And they like texture, so things that like Play-Doh or things that they can squeeze or touch or things that can help to relax them and de-escalate their nervous system or basically regulate their nervous system. Those are the things you want to do. I also have little spray bottles. They can spray themselves in the face with water if they want.
I love it.
So paper that they can tear, so they can, or like cardboard pieces. The kids like to tear things up when they're upset. Have them tear some cardboard, little trash can there, and they can throw it away. In that way, it's a great way to help them learn how to cope with stress. And I always recommend that. And I think that, even watching this video, it's a clear sign of someone teaching him empathy and how to regulate his emotions or regulate his nervous system. Now he's teaching it to his brother. And he patted him on the back. That's what I think is super cute.
Yeah, that's Tyler. She's very much a hugger, and she's so cute. She has so many feelings. Like she naturally gravitates towards people, and she just hugs them and pats them on the back. She even does that with me too. I love seeing kids picking up on that kind of stuff early.
Yeah, I would think my niece would be more like that, but she's kind of a tough cookie.
Oh, that's Tyler all the way.
She's kind of like I have to teach my niece, for example, how to share. Like that's been really difficult because people and I know that the prevailing thought is don't force kids. Not only forcing kids to share, but she's also not going to have any friends if she's invites them to her house and they can't play with her toys. So.
Right.
So we have to have a balance in that. I agree. You can't force kids to share because motherfucker, I don't want to share either. Sometimes I feel you.
That's Tyler. Well, I would say Tyler shares a lot. Like, and I think it's because I share a lot. Like when it comes to food, like when she's eating something and someone's checking on her, she'll offer her food just like me. I'm like, you want something? Okay.
So my niece will offer her food, but she's one of those people. She's like controlling. So if we play in this game, if she wants to play this is the game we playing. If she wants to play with this toy we playing with. So it's just easy for her to do when she has mostly adults around her.
For sure.
She doesn't in regular school. So she has I would invite, my friend's daughter would come and I would bring her over. So I say, is my niece. And they would argue the entire time. I mean, argue the whole time. And I finally was realizing it was my niece. Whenever she wanted to play Barbies, the other girl wanted to play Play-Doh, my niece would have a fit.
Of course.
So it's a matter of teaching. It can be stressful. Don't get me wrong, but it's something that I think it's easier when you teach them because in the long run it goes a lot further than just punishing them. Because sometimes we get to punishment and they never learn the lesson. All they know is it pisses you off. They don't know. Oh, my mom wants me to share because I can make friends, or it wants me to share because it's important to take care of people, or whatever it is. All they hear is it makes mommy upset. They get mad at me. I won't do this one thing, but they'll do something else in a different way. Yeah. So you didn't solve the problem. They just found a new way to get around you. Sure. But let's get to your cookies and we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much again for joining us. I want to show people your cookies because they're super looking delicious. I'm looking forward to ordering mine very soon.
So excited.
But yeah, so here are some cookies she has on her site. She has a bundles, so you can get us an assortment of cookies. Look at these pictures. God damn, these really your cookies?
Yes, I'm actually.
Girl.
I do a lot of stuff. I call myself the Jane of all trades. Like, so outside of baking and skincare, I'm actually a photographer. So
Okay.
it definitely
So you
helps.
take your own pictures too.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah,
Wow.
the
What
banana
is
split is one.
that? Oh my
Banana split.
God.
Come on. Yes, that's one of my
I'm trying to
favorites.
see this, girl.
Come on, look, I be trying. Like people, and then sometimes people see the prices and they're kind of like, "Oh my god!" But like when they get it, they understand because
You
like
like,
that's one of my deluxe flavors.
but you could
Like
have
you
done
can
it
load it up with
in
stuff.
LA. That shit ain't expensive.
Thank you. Like I don't think it's that. I mean, when
I
you
mean, it's
really like it.
homemade. What are
Thank
you talking about?
you. Hello. Brown sugar cinnamon is my number one favorite cookie. Butter pecan is fantastic. I love the BYOD, so that's build your own dozen. It's literally your customized.
Girl, what is this?
Which
Not
one are we
my
looking at? Carnival. I knew it. Yeah, Carnival. I love frosted animal crackers, and I vividly remember this. I made this in 2019. I was like, damn, what can I do with this? And then when I made it, I was like, the first thing I thought of was a carnival. I don't know why. It just that's what stuck out to me, and that's how the name came to be. So
girl.
yeah,
God fucking damn.
thank
Butterscotch
you.
potato chip. You be watching Chopped, huh? Or the
From time to time, my potato chip cookies.
you got some
Someone I used
Scream
to be
Baking
friends with gave me
Championship.
that idea, and I was like, damn, I could really do something.
Oh, you gotta go on the championship baking shows.
Considering it, people keep asking me to do it. I don't know if I'm about that life yet. So
It's promo if anything. But when you're ready for the large people are gonna come to you like for sure.
oh
So
my
when
god,
you're ready to take on that load, that's gonna be a lot of work after you're on national television.
right.
Um, definitely wait till you're ready for the load.
I'm ready. I think I just need to like get out of my burnout first. I just need like a little bit more sleep, and that'll be okay.
Yeah. Or whatever it is. You might even need some more people to help you. There's probably
Yeah,
baking
my goal is
assistant.
to have. Last year I wanted to have my storefront, but then COVID was a thing, and then obviously, like like I've shared earlier, in this conversation, like I encountered, excuse me, like a lot of legal matters, so it just kind of postponed the process. But my goal is to at least be working on the storefront by the end of the year, by the end of 2021. So
Girl.
once I get a see. Oh yes, Cherry Blossom. Cherry Blossom is that
Ooh,
girl. Being a DMV native, it's very important for me to have, things that are truly an ode to where I am, or like they pay homage to, who built me as a person. And I love the Cherry Blossoms. Chicken and waffles is fire.
okay, what is that? Is that chicken skin?
Yes, it is like the fried chicken skin. Yes. So
What?
yes.
Girl.
So I bake it again. I put it in the oven. In the actual cookie dough, though, there are pieces of chicken, and and like it's not like overwhelming. The cookie is a vanilla maple flavored cookie. The icing is vanilla maple, and then I garnish it with the chicken skin after it's baked again, and it truly tastes like the dish. And I make the actual cookie in a waffle maker.
So it has like a maple flavor too?
Yeah,
What?
it literally tastes like maple syrup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Girl. Even how you like what I can't even like this looks insane. Wow. Okay, churro is like my shit. So yeah, I can't decide what I would even order. Like, oh
I
my
would suggest either personally, and for anybody that's still watching, I'm sure like a lot of you are, I always suggest the assortment or the thickums, because the thickums, I've actually recently updated the website and the menu. The thickums, they're actually literally palm sized cookies. Like, I mean, obviously y'all can't tell how big my hands are. They're pretty small, but like they're palm-sized cookies, and they're more deluxe versions of it. The assortment, if you're more so on the indecisive side, like kind of like I am, that's a great way. You can pick up to 3 flavors. And then I also love the BYOD, so build your own dozen. So it's literally a customized cookie. You can what's it called? Like you pick your cookie base, you pick up to 2 mix-ins, up to 2 toppings. If you don't want, it's literally all about you. So you can have one mix-in and one topping and one cookie base, and it's your vision brought to life, and it's super worth it.
girl. Look, motherfuckers tell me to get it off the screen.
I'm seeing this. It's okay. That's my
Listen,
job. I gotta
girl.
feed you.
So wait, is this cinnamon roll a cookie?
Yes. Wow. I just talked about this on Instagram. So, cinnamon roll is actually like I make a buttery cookie and I make a handmade brown sugar cinnamon filling, like similar to what you would get in a cinnamon roll. And then I actually roll the cookie dough into it, and then boom, it's created.
I
That
know Fireball when I see it.
I was about to say, legally I can't use it, but yes, that is it. Yes, that
Wait,
is
so is
it.
there whiskey in it?
Yes, so actually the icing, it's I make a subtle reduction. I don't cook all of the alcohol out. The cookie is actually a
Good.
cinnamon and brown butter based cookie. So what I do is make the brown butter, I brown the butter, then I infuse cinnamon sticks into it to really enhance the flavor. The icing I use actual Fireball for.
We are waking up the chat room with the
I know, I
cookies.
see it. They like, hold up, talking about food.
So I found whenever we have like the heavier topics, my chat is way quieter. And then people tend to like stop watching it live and they'll go back later for whatever reason. I guess because sometimes the topics can get a little heavy.
Yeah.
But you start talking about cookies, everybody just popped
They're like
up.
cookies. All I will say is that if you shop with me, please be patient with me. Cause like, listen, business, it gets really crazy. My favorite cookie on the website is brown sugar cinnamon. It tastes like the filling of the brown sugar cinnamon Pop Tart. Truly. Coffee
See,
and cream oatmeal
that
does
sounds good.
numbers.
So this
Yes.
is good. I mean, honestly, you have so many options that it's insane.
Thank
No
you.
wonder you have to do these to order because it's so many.
Yes.
How do
And
you
not
wait? How
even
do you do that? Is it because cookies generally have a lot of the same ingredients, so you don't have to like? I
it's
don't know.
most,
How are you able to do that?
you
Have so
know,
many.
like honestly, a
Have so
lot of
much
the stuff is
variety.
made to order simply because people order a lot.
Right. Right.
I would say on average, people order about 9 flavors. That's average. So sometimes I have the dough, sometimes I don't. It just really depends on, whatever my inventory is looking like, and just kind of go from there. Cookies and cream is the best seller literally worldwide. I
Oh,
haven't met a person that dislikes it. If you like cookies and cream ice cream, then you'll love that. I also have a cookies and cream bundle because it does so well. Cranberry and vodka actually has a glaze that does not like that. There's no reduction in that. You can get lit off of that. But if you really want a lituation, you want the margarita cookie. I don't think it's on the website right now, but I actually infuse a shot of tequila in every cookie. And then there's also tequila in the icing. Now that I don't work for this company anymore, I can talk about this. So I used to work for Kiehl's. Because my skincare background as an esthetician, a skincare specialist, and one of my best friends was the manager. And I was like, I just made some cookies, and she was always down to try my stuff. So I was like, yeah, like, can I bring these in? She was like, no problem. I gave her a heads up. She was like, look, Alicia, people gonna eat them after work. It's fine. We did not. And I think each of us had about, and I told everybody, like, I gave a fair warning. I was like, look, there's a shot in every cookie, okay? There's a shot in the icing. Be careful. We were out here selling skincare product like nobody's business. People kept coming up to me and they were like, Alicia, is it, you really did that? And I was like, I did. Where
so
are you
that's a
from? Doing some
question
chicken
for
and
you.
waffle stuff. Oh, people don't really call Maryland the South. I'm in the DMV. I'm in Maryland. People don't call the Maryland the South, but like literally, technically, everything that's north is considered above us. I'm a nice in between. But chicken and waffles, for me, my brand is all about bringing the most interesting flavors to life, things that you wouldn't even think about bringing to life. So I'm really glad you asked that question,
This
B.
is why I said you got to be on the spring baking championship shows because look at this shit. First of all, I never even heard of using lavender and shit
Yeah.
until I was watching Spring Baking Championship and I watched you looking at your ingredients.
Yeah.
Girl, this is some Spring Baking Championship
Thank
shit.
you. I'm actually like I usually drop flavors every month, but Mama needs a break, so I'm dropping flavors, and the next one will
Merlot.
probably be in May. Yeah, so that'll be the summer collection. Yes, okay, I see you, Void. Brown sugar cinnamon is the best. Oh my god, y'all are so funny. I would say I could see Southish for sure. Dark chocolate sea salt caramel is definitely one of those flavors like you gotta get it while it's in stock. What I do, I used to work for Lolly and Pops. If you all have shopped there, I don't suggest shopping with them again.
Okay.
I used to work at the Annapolis, Maryland location, and the team and I there, like I brought on a lot of the people that work for that company, and I was the youngest manager in the company. I was the only second or third Black manager the company ever had, mind you. At that point, it had been around for like 5-6 years. And my team and I, we literally dominated the company, and we really set the tone. I actually, unfortunately, used the sea salt caramels from there, but I get it from the wholesale vendor. Those sea salt caramels are fantastic, and they're 10 out of 10 would recommend. Banana pudding, I would say, is definitely number 2 out of my best sellers site-wide and nationwide.
Banana pudding is my shit. Don't play
You would
with
love
me.
it because like you can add like white chocolate chips to it. You can add extra wafers if you want. It truly tastes like banana pudding. It's really good, and it's not even because I made it.
Wait, so there's still wafers in it?
Yeah,
Girl, don't tell me that. I fucking love vanilla wafers.
you love that then. When I
First of all,
like,
those
I
are
actually
fucking
have people
dangerous. They're those
just
cookies
buy
that
that.
you can just keep eating and eating because they're not too sweet, but they're, oh, I love them.
And
They're
and that's
dangerous.
and that's another thing too. Like I've actually had like European people be like, oh, it may be too sweet because it's American, and it's just like my stuff. It's like it's sweet enough. I think the one.
Girl, it's a cookie. You're not gonna listen.
Hello,
We're not doing
right?
this. I'm looking at the picture. If a cookie is or dessert is too sweet, all that means is add vanilla ice cream. That's
Yes.
all that means. Add
Oh,
vanilla ice cream.
and also, really quick side note, B, I see what you said about bacon. I actually have a maple bacon cookie.
Oh wait, somebody said something about bacon. I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed
200
it.
B 2008 B Scott. Yes. I have a maple bacon cookie. You can use regular bacon. I use thick cut bacon, Applewood specifically. Or, if you can't have pork, I do have turkey bacon as an option. I try to take care of everybody.
No talk. You put cookies in your cookies. So you can eat cookies while you eating cookies.
It really be like that though. Bye. That's how it is though. We put cookies in your cookie so it can be a cookie.
I mean, it is kind of like what's that? It's like the
Hit
meme.
my ride.
Yeah, the Pimp My Ride meme exhibit. Oh my god, that shit is so fucking funny. Oh my god,
Yes.
because it's literally what it is. It's like you have these separate types of foods and desserts and flavors, but combined in a cookie. So like
That's
dark
me.
chocolate merlot, banana pudding,
I have pineapple upside down.
coffee and cream. Like I heard a coffee cake and coffee flavored coffee and cream. Because one thing I hate about coffee is when there's no cream in it. So I'm already sold.
Oh, thank you.
I love cream in my
People love that cookie. One cookie that I'm working on, I'm really trying to enhance the recipe, and I think I've finally done it, is my Frosted Flakes cookie. Like, people were so pressed about that. And it's not that it's not a thing. It's just, it's one of my most temperamental recipes. I think I've changed it like 3 times. My chocolate chip, though, is like 10 out of 10.
I saw this cereal one, though. The cinnamon cereal. Is that cinnamon toast crunch?
Yes, it is. So like it's actually pieces of cereal mixed into the cookie. On top is an icing. It's like they don't really look like that anymore. Like they're more enhanced. But the icing is actually infused with the cereal milk. So I take the cereal, infuse it into the milk, and boom, make the icing.
What? Okay, first of all, I'm gonna let you go, but how did you learn how to your grandma taught you all this?
Oh, this was on me.
So how did you learn this? Like, how did you learn how to do this?
Honestly, for me, what I do is I do a lot of brainstorming. I do a lot of researching to see what people like. I'm all about learning.
I
And then
get
I just
high a
kind of
lot.
go from there.
I
Yeah.
get high a lot, and I think about random flavors. And sometimes I literally Google to see if there's a recipe or a dessert that fits
Mhm.
in my head.
That's usually
And,
how it starts.
and
Yep.
funny enough, there's actually stuff that exists. And I'd be like, yo, I'm imagining like a strawberry butter cake with brown sugar icing, and you Google it, and there's some shit that literally exists like that,
Mhm.
or some version of it that you could transfer into whatever. I don't bake or
Yeah.
cook and shit like that. I mean, I cook for myself, but I'm not a baker. I'm not. I'm not the person who's like, let me go to the kitchen and take care of folks, because you niggas can eat, take care of yourselves. But I will buy cater. I will get a caterer. I will buy food, but I'm not the person that's in the kitchen. But I appreciate people who do, because you guys have these mindsets and this way of thinking in the kitchen that I don't get. I had a roommate who was similar to you, probably not as it doesn't do as much as you do at all.
Yeah.
But if she wanted to, I bet you if you taught her a recipe, she'd be cooking that shit all the time. But she used to bake, like she had a peach cobbler cheesecake she would make, and she had a these sweet potato cupcakes she would make, and all I was like, yo, how do you even come up with this
I'm
shit? Like
stressed.
you people are like gifted in ways that I can't explain, because I love the shit, but I
Yeah.
can't come up with a recipe for it.
You know, one of my favorite things to make outside of baking, I think my daughter's tired of me giving her lamb. She's becoming more and more picky as time goes on, and makes me really sad. And she loves mom's cooking. She loves mom's baking. Like everything I bring to life, she will eat. But I think she's getting tired of lamb, so I'm giving lamb a break. One of my favorite, and people are like, "Oh my god, that's a cheap meal." I'm like, "Absolutely." I love to make either jerk or curry lamb. And yeah, my daughter will eat curry in a heartbeat.
I love curry. I don't eat lamb, but I do eat curry.
Yeah, like
You
she
get curry
loves it
chicken.
so much. Like I'll do that really quick. I make some fried plantain, and then like I'll make some jasmine rice, and it's gone.
So you said you in Maryland. So when you come to LA, so you
I've
can
been trying to come to the West Coast so badly. You have no idea. Oh my God.
when shit opens back up for real. You like when we have like events like those big. You know how LA has like those
Yeah.
big festivals for like foods and people from all over the world or whatever. You should come and just get a table out there. Bring some of your cookies, your top
I
sellers.
love to keep me updated with everything. I will literally pull up. I will catch a flight in a heartbeat. I
Yeah,
got you.
you need to come to LA and make me a plate of food too, since you
Say
cook.
less. All you gotta do is tell me which one. I'll bring it to life. That's no problem.
I
I
love. I
see.
stay looking for niggas that make plates. I swear to God, I be online on Instagram. Who out here? Because I would rather pay a black person who got it in their kid who just making shit out their kitchen
Yeah.
than fucking some chain restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be fire. So like, I
It's
mean,
right. They be giving me that cookie cutter shit. I'd be like, nah, give me the real.
yo, there's this one girl. I wish I could think of her name right now, but I can't think of her name. She's real dope. Um, she's on. I found her on Twitter. She was like on Southern Place, and I was like, I don't know who this girl is. Let me check her out. So I look at her Instagram. People were buying shit, and I was like, oh, people must really fuck with her. She doesn't live far from where I'm at. And I bought a plate. Girl, first of all, I got the plate. I picked it up later than I was supposed to, so the plate was a
Yeah.
little cold, and that shit still was fire. And it was like it's something that sounded basic, like eggs and some turkey sausage and some other
Mhm.
shit or whatever. Girl, I don't know what the fuck she did. It was like the shrimp eggs shit with some other shit.
Yes.
It was a big, like those big styrofoam things
Yeah.
with shit. You know, Negroes can't just give you a little. They pack your
That's
shit.
me. I'd be like, let me pack the shit up real quick.
So I love supporting black businesses, but I love supporting black food businesses because we make the best food, real shit. That's why I get offended low key when I'm watching them cooking competition shows and the black person don't win. I'd be like, this is racism. I don't care if they forgot an ingredient. It's still
It's like,
racism.
because we put our foot in it. You know we
Listen,
did.
they be like, you forgot an ingredient. Fuck that ingredient. It probably need to be in there. They won. They should have won.
Mhm.
What the fuck you know about food?
You know,
Black
and
people.
that roommate of yours makes me think about one thing that I love to do. Cause like on Twitter, like, cause like I think you started like we started to follow each other like right around the time that like I slowed up on this. But like I would always make so much food, and I'd be like, "Yo, who's trying to pull up for a plate?" Like my biggest thing, my favorite meal of the day is breakfast. So what I do is this thing called breakfast bowls. So like I feature certain things. Like as of late, like it's been parfait bowls. But like if it were to be like a breakfast bowl, my go-to is hash browns. Like I make hash browns. I season them with Old Bay, and other seasonings, of
That was,
course.
I never thought of that. I never
Oh yeah,
used to think of
yeah.
that.
And then I do like a frittata egg. So like I add like veggies and stuff to it, like a specific blend of veggies, the frittata blend. I top it off with Old Bay hot sauce. I top it off with cheese, like bacon bits, and it's like literally like a loaded up like bowl. Like I put in like those little to go bowls and things like that. Really quick, I see you 2008. I see you B Scott. Yes.
Okay, what is this in this picture that I'm looking at?
Let me see. What am I
I'm
looking
in the assortment or
The
build your
BYOD. Yeah, so the Build Your Own Dozen. That was okay. I'm gonna take y'all through really quick for those that are still here, and I'm really glad. Um so one thing I remember I was working for Sugarfina. We don't support Sugarfina, you guys.
I don't know what that is, so fuck them.
Yeah, period. Okay, they're horrible. Sugarfina, when I was working for them, like this was around the I actually came up with the BYOD around the time that I was preparing to quit, right? I was like, how can I change the cookie game? I was the assistant manager at the time. I'm like, look, I don't need y'all niggas. Like, I'm good. How can I elevate my business? That's where I was. And I'm like, damn, what can I do? And I was like, damn, instead I will never forget it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, instead of BYOB, why not BYOD? I was like, I said, nobody's doing no shit like that. That's crazy. And so when my employees came in, I said, okay, look, boom. I said, I'm brainstorming. I said, what do you think about a BYOD? They were like, what is that? I was like, Build Your Own Dozen. They were like, oh, that would do numbers. I was like, all right, cool. All I need is one person to say yes. It's a wrap. So for me, it was all about showcasing each customer's personality through a cookie. So that was actually the first one I ever made. So that's a brown butter based cookie with dark chocolate chips, Twix pieces for the mix-ins, the topping. I would never forget making this. Actually, I was like, oh my God, it looks so fucking good. I did salted caramel and an actual coarse sea salt drizzle. Sprinkle on top to really bring it to life. But you can pick whatever base you want. You can pick up to 2 mix-ins. If you don't want mix-ins, that's fine. You can do 1 topping. You can do 2 toppings. It's really just bringing your personality to life.
I'm looking at all these base. This is just the base, nigga. Snickerdoodle base, Mexican chocolate, which is my shit.
Stop playing. I have a Mexican chocolate cookie.
That is insane to me. Like,
yeah, I got you.
This is just the base. I haven't even gotten to your mix-ins. You got
a little bit of everything. You can do
bacon almonds. That's some bacon. That's some bacon.
Yes. My cookie flavor, the CEO, is actually my personal BYOD. So it's a brown butter cookie with dark chocolate chips, Oreos. The topping is a peanut butter drizzle and coarse sea salt. One thing about me, I'm gonna put some sea salt on some shit. So I'll be like, little razzle dazzle. I'll be like, it's a little bland. Let me add some sea salt to this.
You know what? Sea salt on cookies is like the best thing ever.
It works, right? Yeah. It doesn't get enough credit.
I got into that with the caramel. I had some caramel cookies once from I forgot where, but it was really good. And I was like, yo, they just threw some sea salt on here. That shit is perfect.
Yeah, I love the BYOD. Let me see. They don't know how to season barbecue. I'm so sorry, B.
B Scott feel a little bad. These white folks where I'm at.
Okay, look, B Scott, I ship nationwide. Just let me know. I got you. There's no problem.
Oh my God. He said he want to go back to Georgia. He missed it because he's looking at
I love
that. Recipes do kind of make me think of Georgia. That's so funny. All you need is some peach flavored shit and you there.
I have a peaches and cream cookie. I'm looking to do more peaches though. I always tell people the fall and winter is when I thrive. I'm a pumpkin spice kind of girl. But it's not like that commercial stereotypical
no, I only like one thing that I like I hate pumpkin spice, except the Krispy Kreme pumpkin spice donut. That shit was fire. I forgot who put me on that shit.
One of my cookies tastes similar to that. I would say my pumpkin ale tastes close to that because I actually have a pumpkin ale in my inventory and I infuse it into the cookie dough. And the icing. Yeah.
Girl.
And I drop something pumpkin every fall, and then the winter is when I thrive. My menu is very big. That's probably when I do the most releases too for fall and winter, because you're looking at like total 10 plus flavors. And I think this year I'm definitely going to come with some more heat, and I'm very excited about that. And then also for the holidays, for anybody that plans on shopping with me, yes, peaches and cream cookie. We can talk about that in a second. For anybody that shops with me during the holiday season, I do 12 days of Christmas sales. So for the 12 days leading up to Christmas, I do a sale every single day for 24 hours. So if you miss one, you don't have to worry about it because there will be another one the next day. And then I do giveaways, which is great. And
I
the
love
peaches,
giveaway.
yeah, look, I'm always giving something to the people. And then as far as peaches and cream, so it's a matter of mostly like I'm thinking about updating it so people can add like white chocolate chunks to it, but it's a very like French vanilla peachy kind of flavor cookie. I love the outside. It has like a very light like granulated sugar crisp to it because I roll it in sugar and then I bake it just to really enhance all of like that's in the middle of it. And I actually add fresh peaches to the cookie dough.
Sis, I'm sorry. You are amazing.
Thank you.
I'm like over here. I feel the chat. Like I see what they're saying because I feel the same way. And I'm just like, what? I can't even wrap my head around all these flavors and these ideas and these things. Like that's just fucking crazy to me. I
Thank
just
you.
I'm gonna probably get the build your own dozen. Cause I'm trying like I don't know. It's just I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't know. I can't even decide. You have
I
too
would
many.
suggest for anybody that's a first time shopper, and if you're like, stuck
Get
on
the
what you want to do, I suggest the assortment or
okay.
the build your own dozen, or you could do the thickums because I would say this again, like the thickums is going to be a more deluxe version of the assortment or the deluxe dozen because the thickums comes with flavors that are featured in both of those,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're palm sized. So like people see the price, but it's like literally think about it like just sitting right in your hand. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's that big. Like you're holding it like this. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. The BYOD, the build your own dozen is great. Like if you just really want to come up with some off the wall shit and be like, damn, is that going to work? And sure enough, it does. Cause I always make an extra for myself. Like that one specifically, I was like, what is this? That is that's an oatmeal raisin cookie with apple pieces on top is bacon bits and peanut butter drizzle. I vividly remember making that and sending it off the same day. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work. I made it and it blew my mind. That cookie specifically embodies the summer to me. Like if I were to think of like a southern summer specifically, that is it.
Well, do you have anything for Easter coming up?
Easter, I don't. But if I were to suggest specific flavors for Easter, like if you wanted to get anything together for Easter, like maybe like an assortment, or if you just wanted like several dozens, guava con queso is one of my favorites. I love that cookie.
I didn't even see that up there.
I know guava con queso was amazing. So it's a vanilla almond based shortbread cookie. It's a soft shortbread cookie specifically. I add guava paste to the cookie dough. In the middle is a lemon cream cheese filling, and it's out of this world. That is actually Tyler's favorite cookie. She
Oh,
will, if she sees it, she will take it like that. It's that serious in
I
this
definitely. I have like all these options are like crazy, and I'm so excited to even try any of them
I'm
because
honored.
they all look good from what the reviews are. They're good. It went viral for a reason.
Thank
Um,
you.
so first of all, I'm just proud of you for all the things you've accomplished, even putting yourself out here to do that, walking out on a bullshit job that was on some bullshit, to come
Thank
out
you.
here, live your, work towards your dream and your goals and expand that safe space and make it a business and something that can turn your life around, including your child's life around. And the other thing is people don't talk about this, but you bring joy to people with delicious baked goods. Like that makes people feel good. It's a comfort.
Thank you.
So I'm down with the champagne sweets. Yeah, it would be dope if there was a champagne cookie in honor of
I
champagne.
have a champagne cookie. It should still be on the website.
Oh, you got everything. Okay, let me.
And I have a mimosa cookie.
And you have. Oh, I love mimosas, girl. Don't.
Yes.
You doing all this. I'm trying to lose weight, girl, and you just got all this
Who you
temptation.
telling? Okay. Listen, okay. Like, look, I did some yoga earlier, right? And then I was like, well, we finna eat these M&Ms though. So it's okay. We in this together. It's okay.
But I do appreciate you for coming on to Champagne Sharks. Thank you for sharing all your information, your stories,
No problem.
and opening up with us, and of course for sharing, the joy of your cookies. I can't wait to try some, and I'm excited for everyone who's watching to check out your cookies and check you
Yes.
out. Where can people find you?
So you can follow me on, let's go ahead and just plug my personal Instagram and social media platform, because you can find all of my business stuff through there. My Instagram, my Twitter, well, specifically those two are the MonAlicia. So that's THE_MonAlicia. So that's MonAlicia. And then from there, you will find all of my other business platforms. I have 2 podcasts. One is an extension of the MonAlicia Bakes, which is called Cookies and Conversation, which started in January. And then the other one I'm a part of is the Miseducation Podcast, real conversations with real people on both platforms.
I love it. I love it. Oh
Thank
my
you.
God. I am just, let me actually, I want to
I'm
actually
so honored. Thank you for having me.
listen. I am honored that you came on, and I'm glad that we were able to make it happen. And I
Me
want you on
too.
again. We're going to talk about more stuff. I'm going to definitely plug more of your cookies, especially after I try some.
I'm so excited.
Um, Definitely want people to check you out. Please follow her on social media. Check out her podcast. Make sure you go to the MonAliciaBakes.com. Harlow wants to make sure you remember to go to .com/shop, because you got a shop. Go right there. Don't even waste time. Just go right there. Then you can go look at the blog in the About Me section. But get the cookies first.
See you. Is that Glow? I see you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, he was watching us on his TV. See, I always get scared of people watching us on TV. Something is my head
That's
like
so
bigger
cool.
and massive on there
I
now. But
feel you. Like, I be looking a little off sometimes. So, like, I hope I look okay, Glow. I appreciate
oh,
you.
you look cute. You know you
Oh,
look
thank
cute. Girl. You are so cute. You are too cute.
you. Thank
Um,
you.
Make sure you check her out. Cookies and Conversation. That's her podcast and Miseducation podcast. If you follow her on Twitter, you can get a lot of this information. Also follow her Instagram and go to MonAliciaBakes.com /shop, because Harlow wants to make sure you go to /shop.
It's like, this is the menu, okay?
No, do not hesitate. No, it's /shop. You got to shop. So, but just check it out. It's awesome. Thank you again, Alicia Reedy. It was definitely a pleasure having you on. I
My
can't wait
pleasure.
to have you on again. And we have other podcasts and other things that we're doing. Would love to have you on the podcast as well. We'll talk. We'll talk.
Absolutely.
Check her out. Make sure you guys don't forget to check out Champagne Sharks, patreon.com/Champagne Sharks. You can also donate and support us on Venmo and Cash App under Champagne Sharks. PayPal is it's our Gmail, champagnesharks@gmail.com. We appreciate all the support. It helps us to be able to continue to produce great content for you guys. Because like I said, none of this shit is free to do.
Okay.
And it's a lot of work, and we also have a lot of bills to pay. So please make sure that you guys support. Love you all. Thank you again,
Thank
and
you guys.
good night.
Good night.